Chapter 581. Rumble, the iron gate of the 7 custom gates slowly rose. After 5 days of bitter waiting, Tang Xiaoxi finally opened the gate. Outside the gate, nearly 20,000 soldiers of the National Guardian Army were waiting in formation. Tang Jin raised his hand and said, "Blade and shield formation, prepare to defend. Archers and arrow boxes, hold the line. No one is to panic." The sound of ropes twisting the arrow boxes could be heard. A battle was about to begin. "Your Highness." The saintess of the demon race, Linghu Yan, dressed in a red dress, rode her horse to the side of Tang Xiaoxi and said respectfully, "The warriors of the demon race are ready. As long as the 7 Seas City army inside the gate shows any disobedience, our Fox Clan Iron Cavalry will cooperate with the National Guardian Army to kill them. No matter how many of them come, they will all die." And sporadic snowflakes fell from the sky. Tang Xiaoxi's delicate face had a trace of worry and said, "Don't act rashly. The people inside the gate are all soldiers of my Tang clan. Don't make a move unless it's absolutely necessary. Let me go and say my farewells first." "Yes." Tang Jin also cupped his fists from afar. At this moment, the sound of hooves could be heard from inside the fortress. A row of 7 Seas City cavalry carrying the Purple Flower Empire's war flag rushed out. The person at the front was wearing a golden armor and looked very familiar. It was Lu Zhong. His 2 sons were also wearing armor and followed closely behind him. Hundreds of cavalry came out in a line, and in the blink of an eye, they lined up in front of Tang Xiaoxi. "Shoot at the foot of the formation," Tang Jin ordered loudly. Among the National Guardian Army, a divine archer drew his bow and shot a sharp arrow into the distance. Pa! The arrow hit the ground and the feathers trembled. Immediately, Lu Zhong's cavalry stopped moving forward. If they took another step forward, it would mean the start of a battle. This might not be a good thing for anyone. Lu Zhong spurred his horse forward and cupped his fists from afar. Subordinate Lu Zhong greets Fu Guojunju. With her amazing cultivation, Tang Xiaoxi was naturally not afraid of Lu Zhong. She led Tang Zhen and Linghu Yan to the front and said, "Uncle Tianji, what has happened in the 7 Seas province? Why can't all the divine halls be contacted? Why hasn't there been a single reply from the Empress Palace? Is the 7 Seas province really going to change its banner? Princess Shi, you've misunderstood." Lu Zhong raised his arm and pointed at the purple flower emblem on his collar. "Princess Shi, look. We're still soldiers of the Empire, and we definitely won't have any thoughts of betrayal. The reason why we haven't contacted Lanyan City is because the 7 Seas province has been snowing for an entire month. The snow has blocked all the roads, causing messenger birds to be unable to fly. I hope Princess Shi will understand." "Oh, I see," Tang Xiaoxi sneered in her heart. The 7 Seas province wasn't like Cloud province and Heaven's Pivot province with undulating mountains. More than 70% of the land in the 7 Seas province was plains. This was also the biggest reason why the 7 Seas province was so rich. No matter how heavy the snow on the plains was, it was impossible for the roads to be blocked. At least, Tang Xiaoxi hadn't heard of such a thing in the past 20 years. However, she didn't expose him. She just smiled and said, "Uncle Tianji, how many Tang clan troops are there in the north of the 7 Seas province?" "This." Lu Zhong hesitated. "Why? Can't you tell me?" Tang Xiaoxi raised her eyebrows and revealed a trace of displeasure. "No, Princess Shi, you've misunderstood." Lu Zhong cupped his fists and said, "It's just that Lu Zhong's status is low, and I can only control 100,000 troops under my command. Therefore, I dare not speak about the military affairs of the 7 Seas City. I think Princess Shi should wait for the real owner of the 7 Seas City to come before asking." "The real owner of the 7 Seas City?" Tang Xiaoxi felt a wave of irritation in her heart. She said, "Lu Zhong, am I not the real owner of the 7 Seas City? Don't forget that you're a soldier of the Empire. You must obey your superiors. My title and military rank are many times higher than yours. If you continue to shirk the responsibility, I'll attack the wall. Attack the wall? Lu Zhong couldn't help but laugh. He looked at the campsite of the kingdom guarding army and the demon clan army and said with a smile, Princess, she has brought less than 50,000 troops. I'm afraid you won't be able to do anything to the sturdy Seven Seas city. Moreover, Princess, she doesn't even know how many Tang clan troops there are in the Seven Seas city. Wouldn't it hurt the Seven Seas king if you make such a big fuss? Cut the crap. When will the owner of the Seven Seas city come to see me? Very soon. Please wait for a while, Princess. Humph. Tang Xiaoxi was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down. The national suppressing whip in her hand was even faintly glowing with flames. If the people in the Seven Seas city didn't come out after a while, she might really start a massacre. In less than 30 minutes, a large number of troops came out of the Seven Seas city. The 8 gates opened at the same time, and tens of thousands of troops poured out. Most of them were spearmen and shield troops. After all, there were very few pastures in the Seven Seas city, so there were very few cavalrymen. In terms of the number of cavalrymen, the Seven Seas city was far less than the Sunset Rain city and the Lanyan city. Just when Tang Xiaoxi's patience was about to run out, a group of guards in golden armor came out of the fortress on horseback and surrounded a carriage with a canopy. Such a grand display must be the real owner. Tang Xiaoxi wasn't afraid. She urged her horse forward and waved the national suppressing whip. A strong wind swept out and rolled up the curtain of the carriage. She said in a low voice, "Come out and let me see who you are." Inside the carriage, a hand with burn marks was holding the hood. The person inside the carriage bent down and said with a smile, "Sister Xiaoxi, why is your temper getting worse and worse?" Ah, Tang Xiaoxi was shocked. Looking at the seriously burned person in front of her, she still recognized him. It was Tang Lu. The Tang Lu who was said to have been assassinated was actually not dead. Tang Lu, weren't you assassinated? Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. There are always bad people who want to harm this young master. However, I'm lucky. They can't kill me. Tang Lu raised his eyebrows and smiled. His body was brimming with a kind of arrogant momentum. On the contrary, Tang Xiaoxi smiled. It's good that you're not dead. This means that the Tang family still has descendants. Grandfather should be very happy. Right, let's get down to business. Why did the Tang family refuse to communicate with Lanyan City through letters? What have you been doing in the Seven Seas province for the past month? Tang Lu sternly said, Grandfather ordered me to recruit and train soldiers. Now, the Seven Seas city already has 300,000 troops. There are so many demon spies in Lanyan City. Grandfather is worried that the strength of the Seven Seas city will be leaked, so he ordered me to cut off the communication with Lanyan City. Now that the demon race is invading, it's time for my Tang family to show our strength. At this time, another group of people emerged from the fortress. They were all vassals of the Tang family. They were also generals who held military power. From Chiliarch to captaincy, there were nearly 100 people. Zhou Chong and the others were among them. Strictly speaking, the true military power of the Tang family's 300,000 troops was in the hands of these people. Tang Lu was just gathering them together. Hua! Tang Xiaoxi raised her arm. The golden imperial edict unfolded in her palm and said, Tang family, hear the edict. Tang Lu, Lu Zhong, and the others were startled and knelt down one after another. Tang Xiaoxi clearly said, in accordance with heaven's virtue, the Emperor's imperial edict orders Tang Xiaoxi to accept all the troops of the Empire in the Seven Seas province. Once the troops have arrived, immediately head to the Cangnan province to await deployment. Those who disobey will be immediately beheaded. Tang Lu, who was bowing on the ground, actually laughed. He raised his head and said with a smile, Xiaoxi, does Her Highness want to hand over the Tang family's troops to you? That's right. But Tang Lu stood up and said, there are 300,000 troops in the Seven Seas province. Grandfather ordered me to gather the troops at the Seven Seas Pass before leaving. Only by gathering the troops can we resist the powerful demon army. After all, the Tang family's troops are grandfather's blood and sweat. Xiao Shi, you are also grandfather's grandson. You should be able to understand grandfather's painstaking efforts, right? You. Tang Xiaoxi was enraged from the bottom of her heart and said, when will the 300,000 troops be gathered? At least half a month, at most 2 months. It doesn't matter. Just wait a little longer. Tang Lu's face was full of smiles. Tang Xiaoxi's face was cold as she said, what if I order you to immediately send the troops to Cangnan province? Then forgive me for not obeying. Tang Lu's face was full of determination as he said, as a descendant of the Tang family, I must obey grandfather's edict. As long as grandfather's personal letter doesn't reach my hands for a day, I will not send troops to Cangnan province. Xiao Shi, if you are in a hurry, I can allocate you 500 cavalrymen and let you first go to Cangnan province to resist the enemy. How about it? Motherf *****. Tang Zhen had a fiery temper. He directly pulled out his sword and said angrily, Tang Lu, you have repeatedly disobeyed the edict. It seems that you have already made up your mind to commit treason when the demon race invades. Tang Zhen. Tang Lu said in a grim voice, in any case, you're a member of my Tang family, yet you actually can't distinguish between inside and outside. Don't forget that I'm your young master. Are you courting death by being so rude? Tang Zhen gnashed his teeth as he urged his horse forward and said to Tang Xiaoxi in a low voice, Princess Shi, the Tang family is going to rebel. Once we leave, so long as there's the slightest news of losing the battle from the front lines, that bastard Tang Lu will surely mobilize 300,000 troops to attack Lanyan City. So long as Lanyan City falls into their hands, then Lanyan City, Qihai City, and Cold Star City will be able to form a triangular formation and be in an invincible position. Tang Lu has planned well. Tang Lu, that bastard. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth as she suddenly spurred her horse to turn around and said, Tang Zhen, let's go. Mobilize all the troops in the endless forest. I want to defend Lanyan City for Xiao Yin once more. Yes. As he watched Tang Xiaoxi and the others turn around and leave, Tang Lu couldn't help but take a deep breath and say, how dangerous. I was almost unable to endure the pressure. Tang Xiaoxi and Tang Zhen are being overbearing, and I'm afraid this matter won't end well. What should we do? Lu Zhong cupped his fists and said, young master, don't worry. The kingdom garrison army only has a total of 50,000 to 60,000 troops, and coupled with the demon race and barbaric race, it would absolutely not exceed 250,000 troops. They're just a motley crew. So long as we send out the 47,000 Seven Seas cavalry to charge into the battle, I guarantee that not a single one of them will be left alive. Not to mention we have the Seven Seas Pass, so there's utterly no need to go to war with them in the wilderness. What do you mean? Heh. Lu Zhong's eyes were filled with cunning as he said, the devil race has mobilized an entire 500,000 troops this time. How could Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and the others possibly resist them? Not to mention that the Yihe kingdom is ready to make a move, and Qin Yi has always had the intention of establishing hegemony and wholeheartedly wants to retake the North Ridge. So, Qin Yi will surely be unable to pass this hurdle. Once the front lines fail, then Tang Xiaoxi will surely dispatch the demon race's troops to reinforce Qin Yi. Coupled with Su Muyun's always harboring ulterior motives, we just have to wait, and we'll be able to wait for a situation where the world is divided into 5. Tang Lu couldn't help but roar with laughter. I have Count Tianji, it's truly like adding wings to a tiger. Chapter 582. To the east of Canglin Valley, the mountain range stretched for dozens of miles. The mountain path was extremely steep, and even the hunters who lived in the mountains for a long time did not dare to climb it easily. However, a group of thick-skinned armor demons had already appeared among the thorns. They waved their battle axes to clear a path, and the thousands of armor demons on the top of a small hill were all cut down in the blink of an eye. Whoosh whoosh, the sound of flapping wings came from the sky. It was the air transport army formed by the winged people. The winged people were thin and weak. Only the wings on their backs were very powerful, and their chests and abdomens were very thin. A winged people could only carry less than 15 kilograms, but 7 or 8 winged people in the air each had a rope tied to their legs. Together, they pulled a high-level demon over the mountain range, and more winged people appeared in the air. The Qianfeng army and the Thunder Rush army had a total of 70,000 winged people. It seemed that Qianfeng had taken a fancy to such a powerful air transport force. Not long after, the neighing of warhorses could be heard in the air. Some armor and weapons were also transported up by the winged people. Whoosh! A figure climbed up the cliff like a ghost and came to the mountain range as if he was walking on flat ground. A white cloak fluttered behind him, and his battle boots stepped on the fallen leaves as he walked west. It was Qianfeng. His eyes were filled with coldness as he looked straight at Songlin Valley in the west. That was where his greatest enemy was stationed. In the forest, the high-level demons who had been dropped by the winged people all knelt down and cupped their fists. Greetings, Marshal. Rise. Qianfeng's gaze was unwavering as he looked to the west. How far are we from the Empire's army? In the crowd, Lian Xiao raised his head and said calmly, reporting to Marshal, Songlin Valley is a rectangular valley. It is about 20 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide. The army of the human empire is on the open land outside of the valley. According to the intelligence sent by the winged people, they have at least 300,000 soldiers gathered in the west of Songlin Valley, waiting for us. 300,000? Qianfeng frowned and said, how many armored demons have entered Songlin Valley? Less than 100,000. Order them to speed up the delivery. Pass down my order, occupy the mountain ranges on both sides of the Songlin Valley and occupy the high ground. Once the humans launch an attack, we will attack from the mountain ranges on both sides. No matter how many people they have, they will all die. Yes. Lian Zhao nodded heavily, but then asked, Marshal, we have occupied the high ground, and the season has just warmed up. Once the humans attack with fire, the forest will catch fire, and I'm afraid we will lose. Don't worry. The snow on the ground is melting. The fire won't start in at least 5 days. However, within 5 days, our army of armored demons will be able to flatten the humans' position. Order the flying snakes to stay in the eastern valley. Don't act rashly until I give the order. Yes. On the west side of the Songlin Valley, the Empire's war flags fluttered in the wind. Xiangyu's army was the vanguard. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers and horses had blocked off the entire west exit of the Songlin Valley. Everyone was busy digging traps, setting up antlers and other defensive structures. Xiangyu carried his long spear and walked among the crowd, his brows furrowed. The group of Tang family soldiers behind him did not look too good. Military intelligence had arrived in the morning. The demonic tribe had appeared in the Songlin Valley. This battle was imminent. In the history of the Empire, no army had ever won a head-on battle with the demonic tribe. Marquis, look over there. A captaincy suddenly pointed at the forest in the distance. There, a group of people nimbly traversed through the forest, as if the difficult terrain did not hinder them. Moreover, this group of generals all wore the golden dragon insignia of the Longdan army camp, reflecting dazzling light under the sun. Is that Lin Muyu, Wei Chou, and the others? Xiang Yu asked. What are they doing there? Probably to survey the terrain. Interesting, Xiang Yu smiled slightly. Is the black beech oil ready on the 2 sides of the mountain? Yes. As long as the demonic tribe dares to station their troops on the high ground, I guarantee that even their mothers won't recognize them. Heh, that's good. In the forest, Lin Muyu led a dozen or so Longdan army camp generals of high cultivation to survey the terrain. Everyone leaped, bent, or climbed in the forest like agile apes. Not long after, they could see the figures of the armored demons in the valley in the distance. Swoosh! Lin Muyu leaped and landed on a huge rock that was several meters high. Looking into the distance, she frowned and said, Is Qianfeng really planning to fight the Empire's army in the Songlin Valley? What's wrong, Your Excellency? Isn't this normal? Wei Chou asked. Lin Muyu said, it's true that we are no match for the demonic tribe in terms of positional warfare, but who do you think Xiang Yu is? I'm sure he has already prepared a trap. Even if Qianfeng can defeat Xiang Yu's army, I'm afraid he will suffer heavy losses. The Qianfeng I know would never do such a stupid thing. Situ Sun gripped his longsword tightly and said, Your Excellency, we are bringing up the rear anyway. There's no need to survey the terrain. It's best if Xiang Yu's army is defeated. In any case, his troops are all Tanglan's trusted subordinates. We won't feel bad at all. With Xiang Yu's defeat, we are destined to suffer a crushing defeat from the demonic tribe. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, How are the preparations for our demonic crystal cannons? They have all gone ashore and hidden in the dense forest. They won't be discovered for the time being. Order them to be on standby and await orders. Yes. When night fell, at the pass of Sword Pavilion, the dozens of meter-tall walls of the fortress looked extremely majestic. The armored soldiers were like a forest, and the flag of the Iha Empire fluttered in the wind. On a small path to the north of Sword Pavilion, a man in a gray robe rode over. The warhorse he was riding was extremely handsome and had streaks of green fur on its body. It didn't look like a warhorse of the Central Plains. He came straight to the fortress before stopping his warhorse. He raised his head and said, Sir on the wall, please inform Marshal Ji Yao that an old friend has come to visit. On the wall, one of the guards couldn't help but laugh. Just anyone dares to come and ask to see our marshal? You should go. The marshal is busy with military affairs and has no time to see an idle person like you. The man below the wall laughed and suddenly raised his hand. A shining object flew through the wind and shot into the stone wall beside the general with a clang. Half of it was exposed outside. It was a magic crystal coin. If he had wanted to kill the general, he would have been a corpse by now. Sir, this is a greeting gift. Please pass on the message for me. This. The general took out the magic crystal coin with lingering fear. He knew that the only place that used magic crystal coins on the continent was the demon race. Not long after, the gate of the fortress opened and the visitor was welcomed in. He had been hiding his face under the cloak the whole time and just followed the soldier into Ji Yao's residence. The candlelight on the wall reflected a faint bloody light. Ji Yao raised one hand and said, You can all leave. I want to talk to the honored guest alone. Yes, Marshal. After everyone left, the gray robe lifted his cloak and revealed an extremely handsome face. It was Qianfeng. He cupped his fists and smiled. Qianfeng of the celestial race greets Marshal Ji Yao. Marshal Qianfeng is too courteous. Ji Yao stood up, clasped his hands, and bowed. I wonder what brings you here today, General Qianfeng? Qianfeng said, I have an agreement with Marshal Ji Yao to divide the territory of the Qin dynasty. Oh? What do you mean? The celestial race is about to fight with the Empire. Although we can defeat the Empire with our army, we will also suffer great losses. So? Qianfeng's lips curled up, so I boldly ask for Marshal's help. 3 days later, the celestial race will launch an attack in Sanglin Valley. As long as Marshal sends 100,000 people out of Sword Pavilion to attack the flank of the Empire's army from the south of Sanglin Valley, we will definitely defeat the Empire's army. At that time, the celestial race will take Heaven's Pivot province and the rich Tsangnan province will be given to Marshal. What do you think? The celestial race is really willing to form an alliance with the He nation? Ji Yao suppressed his excitement. Why not? Qianfeng smiled. A gentleman's word is as good as a whip on a fast horse. As long as Marshal Ji Yao gives the word, the celestial race will launch an attack in 3 days. It will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as Marshal sends the troops, you will be able to establish an immortal merit. I, Qianfeng, hereby swear that the celestial race will not offend your army in this battle. You can chase the Empire's army to your heart's content. Ji Yao took a deep breath and said, If that's the case, thank you, Marshal Qianfeng. Let's drink and chat merrily after we destroy the Empire. All right, then. I will dismount and go back to arrange the battle. Yes, forgive me for not seeing you off. As soon as Qianfeng left, two people walked out from a dark corner of the room. One was Yi Xuanhuan, the other was Qin Huan. The demon race is vicious. Making a deal with the demon race is like asking a tiger for its skin. Qin Huan clenched his fists and said, perhaps Qianfeng has already forgotten how he massacred hundreds of thousands of Yihe nation citizens under the steel walls. Yi Xuanhuan smiled. Marshal Ji doesn't really believe Qianfeng, right? Ji Yao smiled. How could that be? Just as His Highness said, making a deal with the demon race is like asking a tiger for its skin. No matter what Qianfeng says, we will bide our time. It won't be too late to attack when a heaven-sent opportunity appears. Qin Huan said, this matter is up to Marshal Ji. I believe that Imperial Father's judgment in appointing you as Marshal is not wrong. Oh right, will Divine Monarch Huo Wu fight with us? Yes, this is what she has promised. Yes, that's for the best. Prepare all the heavenly book embryos, Divine Monarch Huo Wu's power, and our hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Once we come out of seclusion, it will be the end of the empire. He. Ji Yao's face was full of pride as he said, it's best if we can kill two birds with one stone, destroying the empire and injuring the demon race at the same time. At that time, we will unify the continent's 12 provinces and rebuild the glorious empire. Everyone will be collectively known as the empire, and His Highness will be the true heir. Qin Huan also smiled. Imperial Father will not neglect Marshal Ji and will definitely not omit the matter of conferring the title of king. Ah. Ha. Come, let's have a drink first. Chapter 583. At dusk the next day, the last golden rays of the setting sun shone on the pillars of the main hall of Bailing City, reflecting rays of golden light. In the main hall, a group of officials stood in great numbers, and the commander-in-chief, Qin Yi, wore a golden dragon robe and sat on the throne. During the Yihe nation's uprising, Qin Yi raised the banner of all living beings are equal, and people are benevolent. Now, his health was deteriorating day by day, and his desire to ascend to the throne was growing stronger. Commander-in-chief, an envoy from the Empire, an attendant said loudly. An envoy from the Empire? Qin Yi frowned, and said, send it in. Yes. Not long after, a woman walked in. It was Qin Yin's personal female official, Shangguan Jingyue. Shangguan Jingyue's figure was graceful, and she leisurely walked forward. After giving Qin Yi the etiquette of an empire's lady, she said, Commander-in-Chief Qin Yi, this is a letter written by Her Majesty the Empress herself. It's a letter to your family. Bring it up, Qin Yi said without looking sideways. The attendant presented Qin Yin's letter to Qin Yi. Qin Yi opened the letter, and lines of beautiful handwriting came into view. Qin Yin's calligraphy was passed down from Qin Jin, and could be said to be the best in the empire. However, Qin Yi hated these lines of beautiful handwriting. Only when he saw these words did he finally calm down a little. Uncle, Qin Yin respectfully sends her regards. Now that the demon race has made a comeback and swept across Cangnan with an army of 500,000, the demon emperor, with Qianfeng and Lei Chong as his commanders, is determined to obtain the Central Plains. The empire and the Yihe nation are interdependent, and I hope that uncle can let bygones be bygones, dispatch troops to the Sword Pavilion, and join the army of the empire to annihilate the demon race, Qin Yin. Ha. Qin Yi couldn't help laughing, and his eyes were cold. He looked at Shangguan Jingyue and said, your empress has famous generals like Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu under her command. She can expel the demon race with one hand, so why does she need the help of the Yihe nation? Shangguan Jingyue said respectfully, Commander-in-Chief, the demon race is powerful, and cannot be resisted by a nation. Her Majesty said that as long as you are willing to dispatch troops to assist the empire, and the demon race retreats, Her Majesty is willing to cede Lingdong Province and Tongtian Province to the Yihe nation. Qin Yin, does this little girl think I'm stupid? Qin Yin narrowed his eyes and smiled. These two provinces are meat in the mouths of the demon race. No one can eat them. Rather than giving such insincere conditions, why don't we change the conditions of the alliance? Oh. What does the Iha nation want? Qin Yi said, I can send troops from the Iha nation, but their military strength is very limited. Furthermore, they are in dire need of soldiers. How about this? The Iha nation sends 200,000 troops, and the empire must give me 1 billion Jinin coins, plus the 4 southern prefectures of Tsangnan province. How about it? If Qin Yin is willing to agree, you can sign the credence. Someone, draft the credence. Yes. The so-called credence was a letter of negotiation between nations. Once it was signed, it couldn't be violated. Otherwise, it would be a violation of the credibility of the nation. Shangguan Jingyue stood there quietly like a fairy. Not long after, an official came to Shangguan Jingyue with 2 scrolls of credence and said with a smile, Madam Envoy, please sign it. As long as you sign it, the commander-in-chief will definitely send troops. Shangguan Jingyue looked up at Qin Yi and said, the empire and the Iha nation are interdependent. I hope that the commander-in-chief will consider the big picture and fulfill his promise. Don't let Her Majesty down. Don't worry. Thus, Shangguan Jingyue signed it. Qin Yi also waved his brush and kept one of the credence for the national treasury. He gave the other to Shangguan Jingyue and said, go back and tell Qin Yin that I will immediately send a letter to Marshal Ji Yao. He will naturally act according to the circumstances. Yes, then this little girl will take her leave. Shangguan Jingyue slowly left the hall. When she came outside, a few imperial attendants came forward and said, Madam, has the Prince of Jinan already agreed to send troops? No. Shangguan Jingyue smiled faintly and said, what a good acting according to the circumstances. Let's go, His Highness is still waiting for our news. Yes. Acting according to the circumstances? In the Longdan army camp, Qin Yin couldn't help but laugh. I'm afraid that this uncle of mine won't tell anyone the truth, right? To put it nicely, it's acting according to the circumstances. To put it bluntly, I'm afraid that he doesn't want us to have any chance of winning the battle with the demon race. He still wants the empire to give them 1 billion Jinin coins. It's simply wishful thinking. At the side, Lin Muyu said, the troops of the demon race are increasing in Songlin Valley. The battle will definitely start within 3 days. I wonder how the preparations of the front, middle, left and right armies are going? Qin Yin looked up. The group of generals were solemn. Xiangyu cupped his fists and said, reporting to Your Highness, the front army of 150,000 soldiers is ready for battle. We have dug nearly 3 miles of pits. As long as the demon race comes, we can use the pits to kill 20,000 armor demons. We have also prepared black beech oil and arrow boxes. This time, we are well prepared. Even if the demon race army comes, we have a good chance of winning. Luo Xian had already been appointed as the commander of the Iron Blade Army by Su Muyun. He also cupped his fists and said, the Iron Blade Army has 100,000 elite soldiers guarding the Middle Army. Your Highness, please rest assured. Following that, Su Long also indicated that the preparations were complete. On the contrary, Xing Yifan was leisurely drinking his tea with a faint smile on his aged face. He said, there are thousands of winged people hovering above the Empire's army. I'm afraid our every move is under their observation. Since we have made so many preparations, Qianfeng is not a fool. He will not take the initiative to enter our pit. I think, General Xiang, you should make preparations in advance to fight in the wilderness. Choose the battlefield and set up the army formation. This way, you still have a chance of winning. Xiang Yu nodded. Yes, thank you for your advice, Divine Marquis. I will. Everyone was silent for a while. Lin Muyu asked, has there been any news from Shaoxi? Where are the troops of the Seven Seas City? How many troops do they have? Shangguan Jingyue said, Princess Xi's letter arrived in the afternoon. The Seven Seas City's troops have all been dispatched. There are more than 300,000 of them. However, they refuse to go to Tsangnan province. They said that unless they see the letter from the Seven Seas King, Tang Lan, they can only guard the Seven Seas Pass. They actually dare to disobey His Highness's orders? Su Muyun suddenly stood up and said without anger, "Are the people of the Seven Seas City rebelling?" Qin Yin smiled. "Grandfather, don't be angry. I believe they don't mean that. It's just that Tang Lu is in the Seven Seas Pass and has the Tang Sex Iron Order. In addition to his special status, I'm afraid that the Seven Seas Army will not listen to his orders." Lin Muyu said coldly, "Wait until we finish fighting the demon race, then we'll take care of them." At the side, Xiang Yu's expression was somewhat ugly. After all, he was the son-in-law of the Tang clan. Qin Yin asked again, "Is there any news from General Feng?" "They just arrived at Black Pine Pass not long ago. They are currently arranging the garrison," Su Yun said. "And, that's good." The bright moon shone on the icy Qinling Mountains as a cold wind howled past Ink Pine Pass. Although it was already spring, the nights at Ink Pine Pass were unusually cold. The fortress could only hold 50,000 men at most, and the rest had to be stationed outside the pass. As a result, the Zither Dragon Army, Imperial Army, and Tang Shi's army set up camp to the north of Ink Pine Pass, their banners flying for dozens of li snow continued to fall on Black Pine Pass. When it landed on one's skin, it was indescribably cold. Feng Jixing gently rubbed his palms to warm himself up. Su Yu, who was beside him, used a coarse crystal telescope to look into the distance. She saw the lights in the direction of Fiery Moon City, and Long Qianlin's barracks stretched as far as the eye could see. They were too close to Black Pine Pass, so much so that they could reach Black Pine Pass in just 4 hours. "We only have a few 100,000 troops." Su'er pouted and said, "Long Qianlin and Ding Shi have nearly 500,000 soldiers in total. If the two of them want to attack Ink Pine Pass, can we really stop them?" Feng Jixing's king's battle flame surged around his palms to warm himself. He smiled and said, "Long Qianlin and Ding Shi should also understand that if the lips are gone, the teeth will be interdependent. Once the demon race attacks, the Iha country will not be able to stay out of it. They will not attack first. Even if they do, Black Pine Pass is so strong that they will not be able to take it in a short time." And Su Yu looked into the distance. "We can only do this. I hope the battle with Xiao Yin will go smoothly. Don't worry. With you helping her, even if they cannot win, they will not lose miserably." At this time, Tang Shi, who was clad in crimson armor, walked up to the top of the fortress and said with a smile, "Commander Feng, Commander Su, the rations and armaments have all been prepared. It's enough for us to stay here for more than 2 months." "Good. Commander Tang Shi, thank you for your hard work." "It's nothing. It's my duty." Duke Lan. "Oh no, His Highness the Seven Seas King is already resting. You two should also rest early, right?" "Okay." Feng Jixing took another deep look at the vague shadows of Fiery Moon City in the night. His brows gradually furrowed. Deep in his heart, he believed that Ding Shi and Long Qianlin wouldn't advance, but he had a premonition that Ding Shi and Long Qianlin would definitely not let go of such a great opportunity to retake the 3 passes of Qinling Mountains. Tuck, 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 a group of light cavalry galloped straight into Fiery Moon City under the moonlight. The general at the front wore 3 gold stars on his collar. It was Ding Shi, one of the 7 marshals of the Iha country. "Marshal Ding Shi has arrived," the guard shouted. On top of the city wall, a man leaped down. To him, the 15-meter-tall city wall seemed like child's play. His feet stepped on a vortex of battle chi as he floated down to the ground, completely unharmed. It was Long Qianlin, who was inspecting the military situation outside the city. He stepped forward and smiled. "Marshal Ding Shi, why have you come so late at night?" Ding Shi's expression was ashen. "Marshal Long, this general has brought a personal letter from the commander-in-chief. It's for the 2 of us." "Oh? What news does the commander-in-chief have?" "He ordered me to attack Ink Pine Pass on the 1st of February. I must retake the 3 passes within 15 days and then send troops north to conquer the entire Earth Star province within 10 days. What? Long Qianlin was astonished. Did I hear wrongly? We're going to declare war on the Empire when the demonic army is invading? Ding Shi slapped the letter into his hand. The Commander-in-Chief's letter is here. Do as you see fit. The 1st of February is tomorrow, and we don't have much time. If we decide to go to war tomorrow, we must assemble the rations and armaments by tonight. Long Qianlin frowned. We just received a report that Ink Pine Pass is garrisoned with close to 180,000 men under Feng Jixing's command. I'm afraid it won't be easy to take the 3 passes from Feng Jixing's hands, will it? Ding Shi smiled with a hint of mockery. Marshal Ding, what do you mean by this? What are you smiling about? Long Qianlin's heart was pounding. Ding Shi drank a mouthful of wine from his water skin and glanced at him. Who are you, Long Qianlin? Is there anyone in the Iha country who knows how to use troops better than you? No matter how powerful Feng Jixing is, he can only guard 1 pass because he can't split himself. As for the other 2, you don't need me to remind you, do you? Long Qianlin laughed. Marshal Ding lives up to his reputation. Chapter 584. Wazile. Pan Toad. In the jungle of Tsunglin Valley came the unknown sounds of armor demons. Humans could not understand the sounds of armor demons. Even many advanced demons could not understand the sounds of armor demons. After all, this kind of fierce beast was a real monster hatched from worm nests. Their innate language could not be easily understood by other races. In the east of a cliff covered with moss, dense armor demons were chopping trees with blunt weapons. As a result, trees were chopped off one after another and fell down. In the bamboo woods not far away, many armor demons were chopping bamboo woods. These bamboos had been growing in the deep mountains for many years. The diameter of the bamboo pipes was almost 30 centimeters thick and very tough. Pan Toad. An armored demon wearing the emblem of Chiliarch raised his spear and exclaimed loudly as he stepped forward and kicked the butt of a slower armored demon. That armored demon fell to the ground as he turned around and roared furiously. Unexpectedly, the Chiliarch also opened his bloody mouth and roared, releasing a strong bloody smell. In a split second, that young armored demon was scared out of his wits and dared not resist anymore. It seemed that in the world of armored demons, the one with the louder voice was the most powerful one. Huh, what a bunch of idiots. On a rock dozens of meters away, Qian Feng was supervising the work with a group of high-level demons. On one side, Lei Chong was also standing with some captaincy-level armor demons with his battle hammer. After hearing Qian Feng's words, Lei Chong was a bit displeased. He turned around and said in a non-standard language of Broken Cauldron Realm, Marshal Qian Feng, armor demons are working very hard. Don't tease them anymore. Don't forget that the Armor Demon Corps is the forerunner of the God Clan's attack. If we unify the continent, the Armor Demon Corps will make a great contribution. Smiling, Qian Feng cupped his fists and said, I'm sorry, General Lei Chong. I didn't mean to disrespect you. However, the intelligence of the armor demons is indeed very low. There are very few generals like General Lei Chong who are good at both the pen and the sword. Lei Chong felt embarrassed to be angry. He said in a hoarse voice, Marshal, can you tell me why you ordered the soldiers to cut down the woods? His Majesty has ordered us to fight the enemy side by side. You shouldn't hide it from me. Well, Qian Feng thought for a moment and said, the giant trees on the east side of Tsunglin Valley are all over 100 years old. They are tens of meters long and are extremely sturdy. I plan to use these giant trees to avoid the traps dug by the humans. After all, the humans are too cunning. There is no way they wouldn't set up an ambush along our route. What about the bamboo? I haven't thought about it yet. If Marshal Lei Chong is free, please dispatch another armored demon army to collect the weeds in the valley for me. I need them. Lei Chong was confused. Marshal, I can understand using trees to block the humans' traps, but what's the use of weeds? Do you think we can use weeds to destroy the Empire's army? Qianfeng groaned inwardly. He didn't want to reveal military secrets, but Lei Chang's status was too high. He had to find a way to fool him. So he smiled and said, recently, some armor demons have become vegetarians. They don't eat meat, they eat grass. Oh, I see. I'll do it right away. Lei Chong felt relieved. He turned around and walked only a few steps before he felt that something was wrong. However, he simply ignored it. Before leaving, the versatile demon emperor had ordered him to fight side by side with Qianfeng this time. He only needed to be the vanguard and should not intervene in the strategy. In fact, Lei Chong despised Qianfeng, who was full of evil tricks, very much. He thought that Qianfeng was so bad that he didn't deserve to be a member of the Protoss. Therefore, in the valley on the east side of Tranquil Valley, tens of thousands of armor demons worked in full swing. The trees and bamboo groves were razed to the ground in a blink of an eye. The branches and leaves of the giant trees were cut off and piled up in the demon camp. All the bamboos were sent to the camp of the advanced demons for processing. In the blink of an eye, it was already afternoon. The warm sun of early spring shone on the earth, giving people a sense of laziness. As a result, many patrolling soldiers outside the imperial camp fell asleep on the rocks with their spears in their arms. They were too tired. Many of them had run all the way from Lanyan City to Tranquil Valley on their own feet. They were already exhausted. Outside the central tent, a group of soldiers stood guard. There were people from the Valiant Dragon Army, the Steel Blade Army, and the God Might Battalion. Inside the tent, purple smoke slowly rose from the incense burner and lingered in the tent for a long time. Beside the huge sand table, Lin Muyu and Xiang Yu stood facing each other, while Su Muyun, Jin Yifan, and the other veteran generals sat at the side. Empress Qin Yin was dressed in a well-ironed female military uniform of the Empire with a golden cloak behind her. She looked at the crowd and said, "It's been 3 days, and there hasn't been any movement from the demons. What are they thinking?" "It's not that there hasn't been any movement," Lin Muyu replied. "Oh." Lin Muyu pointed to the east side of Tranquil Valley on the map and said, "The spies of the Longdan army camp have obtained the latest military intelligence. Lei Chong and Qianfeng are leading the Armor Demon Legion to cut down the forest in this location." "Cutting down the forest?" Xiang Yu frowned and said, "They must be crazy. Why are they cutting down the forest? Don't tell me they want to build a complete camp in Tranquil Valley?" "I don't think so." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Qianfeng never does meaningless things, and it's the same this time. In addition, we also found out that the demons are collecting bamboo and weeds." "Bamboo and weeds?" Xing Yifan frowned and said, "What does Qianfeng want to do with bamboo and weeds?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "This time, I really can't guess Qianfeng's thoughts. Perhaps Qianfeng plans to use trees, bamboo, and weeds to win by surprise?" Zheng Yifan narrowed his eyes and said, "Whether it's trees, bamboo, or weeds, they are all flammable things. In that case, as the vanguard, Lord Xiang, you should prepare more materials to ignite the fire. In addition, provide the soldiers with water to extinguish the fire, and be ready to attack with fire at any time to deal with Qianfeng's strategy." Xiang Yu nodded and said, "Yes, thank you for your advice." Qin Yin said, "When do you think the demons will attack?" Xiang Yu smiled and said, "Tranquil Valley has already gathered nearly 200,000 demon troops. Among them, the armor demons are the main force. The rest of the 300,000 troops are mostly distributed in the east of Cangnan Province and Lingdong Province. It seems that Qianfeng only plans to use 200,000 troops to fight us. As soon as they are prepared, the war will begin." Su Muyun said with the spear in his hand, "The armor demons are brave and can fight against 10. Even if they only have 200,000 troops, they can easily defeat our 300,000 troops in a field battle. Of course, the premise is that we don't use any tricks." Qin Yin smiled and said, "Grandfather, do you have any plans?" "No. Su Muyun shook his head and said, "My only hope is that Qin Yi will really send out his troops. The Yihan nation's army will leave Sword Pavilion and attack the demon's rear. This way, no matter how strong the demons are, they will definitely suffer heavy losses." "Yes, grandfather is right." Qin Yi nodded and said, "I also hope so, but this hope is too slim. How could Qin Yi, that old fox, let his trump card troops participate in this unnecessary war?" At the side, Xiangyu cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, please rest assured. This subordinate will definitely defend the position well. No matter how strong the demons are, we will not give in an inch. Marquis Pingnan has worked hard." Situsen could not help but laugh and said in a low voice, "It's a pity that Xiangyu's title is Marquis Pingnan and not Marquis Anong. Otherwise, we might really be able to win this war." Lin Muyu glared at him, indicating that he should not speak carelessly. After the afternoon meeting was dismissed, Lin Muyu returned to her camp. Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui, and Fengshi followed her in. "Lord Commander." Wei Chou cupped his fists and said, "According to my observations, the demon clan's camp has already accumulated a large number of trees. These trees are dozens of meters long, and should be used to fill the pit dug by Xiangyu. The supplies are already sufficient, and the demon clan's large-scale attack will only take a day or two. We should make arrangements early. This is the reason why I called you all over." Lin Muyu spread out the map on the table and said, "The terrain outside of Canglin Valley is very rugged and not conducive to retreat. I think. Wei Chou, you have brought people to investigate. Does this terrain have a name?" "There is no name. This valley is mostly made up of rocks and there is little soil. It is impossible to grow crops, so the locals do not come here at all. At most, it is a few hunters who come here to hunt." "Why, has the commander taken a fancy to this land?" "Yes." Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "There are two ways to retreat from Canglin Valley. One is the main road, going straight to the Unicorn Forest, and the other is this unknown valley. Wei Chou, you make the arrangements. You must set up our 100 magic crystal cannons on both sides of this valley within 3 days." "Yes." On the other hand, Situ Shui, who was standing to the side, was taken aback for a moment, her beautiful eyes filled with doubt. "Commander, this valley is at least 20 kilometers away from the Canglin Valley. If we set up the magic crystal cannons here, may I ask what use they have?" Situsen took a deep breath and said, "Commander, do you think Xiangyu, Su Long, Luo Xian, and the others will be defeated?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu shook her head, "But the task of the Longdan army camp this time is to bring up the rear. I must be fully prepared. Set up all our magic crystal cannons here. Once the Imperial army is defeated, someone must be here to stop the iron hooves of the Armor Demon Legion." "Yes." Wei Chou's eyes were burning like flames. He said with a smile, "I believe in Commander on the strategic matters." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Wei Chou, come closer. There is one more thing I want to tell you in secret." "Yes, madam." Wei Chou moved forward, and after Lin Muyu whispered a few words in his ear, Wei Chou's face suddenly became livid, and then filled with excitement and joy. He cupped his fist and said, "Don't worry, madam. This subordinate will definitely do a good job." "All right." Lin Muyu said with a smile, "Wei Chou, go secretly deploy the magic crystal cannons. General Shui, go prepare the cavalry regiment of the Longdan army camp. Situ Sen, Fengshi, you two control the 50,000 elites of the Longdan army camp. Set up the camp here, and wait for the demons to attack." "Pa." The knuckles of her index finger heavily tapped on the map on the table. Chapter 585. On the 3rd of February, Canglin Valley was shrouded in thick fog. There was no wind this morning and the fog floated in the valley like clouds. One could only see 20 meters away. "Damn it, how are we going to fight in such a thick fog?" At the front of Xiang Yu's army, a centurion of the Tang family grumbled as he sat on the mud wall. "Don't be impatient. The veteran at the side twisted the cork of the water bottle and drank a mouthful of strong alcohol. We can't see it, and neither can the demon race. The centurion furrowed his brows. I am the army of the Seven Seas City's Tang clan. Why should we be on the front lines? Everyone knows that once the demons attack, we will immediately be crushed into meat paste. No matter the outcome of this battle, we are destined to die. Old donkey, why aren't you panicking? Panicking? What's there to be afraid of? What's more, what haven't I experienced in my life? I was a mercenary before the age of 30 and roamed freely. After that, I joined the army and fought with the Tang army. I drank the strong liquor of Lingdong, killed the barbarians of the south, and slept with the women of the northern desert. My life has long been worth it. Now that I'm dying here, I can earn the name of a hero of the empire. Who knows, maybe the prostitutes that I've slept with in some tavern will see my name on the nation-guarding monument and never forget it for the rest of their lives. *CK, the centurion was furious. You wily old fox, I knew I couldn't talk to you too much. Otherwise, your skin will get thicker and thicker. Old donkey chuckled. General, did you see the fog this morning? What's so interesting about fog? Sigh, you might not know this, but fog is also a form of knowledge. Look, the fog this morning is flowing and not in patches, but in patches. This means that there must be a huge commotion in the distance. This fog is called ominous fog. I think nothing good will happen this morning. If the demon race doesn't attack, there will most likely be a spiritual beast attack. Humph. You old fart. Scram to the side and drink. Don't disturb this daddy's defense. Old Donkey Head laughed heartily as he carried his water bag and walked to the side of the 2-meter-tall wall. He looked into the dense fog in the distance and laughed with hazy eyes. He raised his head and continued to drink. The strong alcohol flowed down his throat, but just as he was enjoying this kind of happiness, he suddenly felt a chill at the back of his neck. Then, he lost consciousness. Poochie. A giant iron spear pierced through Old Donkey Head's neck and stabbed him into the wall. Even his neck was twisted and his head was about to fall off. It was a tragic death. God damn it. The centurion's face was filled with anger. Sound the drums, the demons are coming. Roar, 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 the roars of the armor demons could be heard from within the dense fog. Giant black shadows appeared one after another. Groups of armor demons were covered in armor and carried huge steel shields. Their faces were filled with killing intent. What was even more shocking was that behind the first line of armor demons was a group of armor demons carrying trees. 5 to 10 armor demons were carrying tree trunks that were dozens of meters long as they charged over. Release the arrows. The centurion's eyes were already bloodshot. At this moment, he was incomparably afraid. He knew that they couldn't win this battle no matter what. The armor demons had come prepared, so the traps at the back were definitely useless. Roar! An armor demon leaped over and swung its battle axe in the air, sending the head of a 10-man squad leader flying along with his helmet. Blood splattered everywhere. Everyone was dumbfounded. This time, everyone realized that not only did the demons have a shocking number, but the quality of their weapons and defensive equipment had also increased by a large margin. Behind the earth wall, the soldiers rapidly released arrows, but it was completely useless. The armor demons in the front row raised their shields high and blocked the arrows one after another. When they got close, they swung their swords and chopped down. How could the strength of ordinary soldiers resist the armor demons? In the blink of an eye, the first line of defense was directly broken through. The earth wall was smashed through by the armor demons one after another. It's over. General, what should we do? A corporal turned around and looked at the centurion with an ashen face. What else can we do? The centurion stared at him, but he saw an armor demon rushing over from behind the corporal. With a "pu" sound, the long spear pierced through the corporal's heart and sent his body flying. A pair of dark brown eyes glared at the centurion and roared angrily, "Gangba." The centurion was scared out of his wits. He hurriedly pulled the reins of his warhorse and turned to leave. Whoosh! Behind him, the sound of a long spear piercing through the air could be heard. When the centurion turned around, he saw the last scene before his death. The long spear pierced through his abdomen and directly threw him off the horse's back. It was extremely tragic. Dong, 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 the sound of war drums came from the fog, but no one could see clearly. They could only hurriedly pick up their weapons to resist the enemies in the fog. Avoid the traps. Avoid the traps. A messenger with a purple flag on his back rode through the crowd on his horse and ordered loudly, "Pass the Marquis's military order, hold the position, avoid the traps, and lead the demons into the traps." At this time, everyone had calmed down a little, but the continuous screams of the human soldiers in the fog in the distance were too frightening. This calmness was replaced by fear in the blink of an eye. Behind the trap formation, through the fog and clouds, the main force of Xiangyu's army had been lined up in a neat formation. The shield-bearers and spear-bearers were crisscrossing in defense. Behind them were densely packed arrow boxes, ballistae, and archers. Further behind them was the heaven and earth battle formation of 50,000 soldiers formed by Xiangyu. The ground was covered with flags, looking very dignified. Under the commander's flag on the west side of the heaven and earth battle formation, Qin Yin, Lin Muyu, Xiangyu, and others were riding on warhorses. However, they couldn't see the battle in the distance and could only worry. Can the 5-mile trap really stop the armor demons of the demon clan? Su Long asked. No. Narrowing his eyes, Xiangyu shook his head and said, but it can dampen the spirits of the demons. Qin Yin's spiritual mind was very sharp. She could faintly hear the desperate screams of the soldiers of the Empire before they died in the distance. She felt very uncomfortable, but this was war and everything she had to face. Soon after, a messenger galloped over and cupped his hands, saying, "Marquis, the armor demons are using the long giant trees to push forward and use the giant trees as bridges over the traps. They are already halfway into the traps." Is that really the case? Xiangyu clenched his fists and said, "It seems that this is indeed a bloody battle. We can only see the outcome of the battle in terms of position." Beside him, Jin Yifan was stunned and said, "Didn't Marquis Pingnan pour black beech oil into the traps?" If he poured black beech oil and launched it with fire arrows, the front position would immediately turn into a sea of fire. No matter how many armor demons came, they would all die. Xiangyu shook his head. There are only swords in the traps, not black beech oil. You! Jin Yifan was so angry that his face turned pale. He knew that Xiangyu was well versed in the art of war. If he didn't pour black beech oil, it could only be because he didn't want to use this method to stop the demons. Hearing this, Lin Muyu frowned and asked, "I wonder how General Xiangyu plans to repel the enemy?" "It's very simple." Xiangyu pointed forward and said with a smile, "A large amount of black beech oil has been poured into the last trap. As long as the main force of the armor demons comes over, we will launch an attack and push all of them into the black beech oil. I've prepared 10,000 giant ballistae for the demons." Giant ballistae were a new type of weapon developed by the Department of War's Weapons Department. It was a type of weapon that could launch giant ballistae. Lin Muyu looked over carefully. Indeed, there were many giant ballistae in Xiangyu's battle formation. He had practically gathered all the ballistae in the army together. With the impact of the ballistae, even the armor demons would find it hard to withstand. If it was really like this, perhaps they could indeed win by a surprise move. Furthermore, with the misty weather today, the winged people in the air were similarly unable to see the situation in the human camp clearly. Perhaps Qian Feng would fall for it too. But right at this time, a sharp whistle suddenly came from the air. What is it? Lin Muyu hurriedly pulled out the stellar sword and looked up at the sky. Wei Chou, Situ Sen, and the rest also unsheathed their weapons one after another, while Qin Yan raised his spear and led a group of imperial guards to guard Qin Yin's surroundings. "It's the winged people," Wei Chou said loudly. "Get ready." Aim at the sky and fire 10,000 arrows at once. Su Muyun shouted in a low voice. No. Zhen Yifan waved his hand and said, the winged people's cries are at least 500 meters away from us. This kind of distance can't harm them at all and will only throw them into confusion. Wait, let's see what the winged people are trying to do. Right at this time, there was a sudden buzz in the air. A black shadow descended from the sky and landed straight into Xiang Yu's 50,000-man universe battle formation. Bam! Bamboo pieces and wild grass splattered everywhere. This pitch-black object actually contained an armor demon carrying a long saber. After stepping out of the protective circle, it roared angrily and stabbed the long saber into the chest of an Empire soldier. Blood splattered everywhere. It abruptly swung its weapon and split the soldier into two. The long saber rapidly slashed at several others. My God, Qin Yin's heart trembled as she watched. Now, she finally understood why Qianfeng chopped down the bamboo and collected the wild grass. He chopped down the bamboo to make bamboo cages, while the wild grass was used to fill the bamboo cages to reduce the impact of the armor demon's landing. These armor demons were transported by the winged people army and dropped directly from the sky. This kind of tactic could only be used by the demon race. Swoosh, 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 countless armor demons fell from the sky like it was raining. Xiang Yu's soldiers were caught off guard, and many of them were directly crushed to death. Some of the armor demons that landed were injured, but their ferocity did not diminish. They waved their weapons and started killing indiscriminately in the crowd. Ludus! An armor demon roared angrily. Immediately, many armor demons dropped from the sky, charged straight at the giant ballista. Linmuyu, Xiangyu, Luo Xian, and the others all felt a chill in their hearts. This was how terrifying Qianfeng was. It was not that he did not know Xiangyu's plan, but he knew that Xiangyu was waiting for him with the giant ballista, yet he still managed to win by a surprise move. Buzz! Another huge object fell from the sky. It was an extremely powerful armor demon. It stomped on the bamboo cage and smashed it in the air. The long spear in its hand pierced toward Qin Yin's head with a cold gleam. Your Highness, be careful. Qin Yin hurriedly shouted. Qin Yin looked up. Her beautiful face was filled with coldness. She opened her palm, and a golden ice crystal soared into the sky. Sky Dragon Crystal. Bam! Amidst a loud boom, the armor demon was directly reduced to pieces of flesh and blood in the air. Blood rained down and splattered on Qin Yin's battle armor. Everyone was stunned again. No one knew what level Qin Yin's cultivation had reached now. Chapter 586. Xiangyu, are you not going to ignite the ebony oil in the last pit? Linmuyu could not help but ask as she watched the armor demons falling like rain and the soldiers howling miserably. Xiangyu's face was very pale. He was already in a panic and asked, is there any use? Qianfeng actually played such a trick. Goddamn Qianfeng, burning the ebony oil will be of no use now. Tens of thousands of armor demons will fall from the sky and tear apart our defense. Bullsh *T. Linmuyu scolded angrily and said in a low voice, are you King stupid? The armor demons weigh at least 400 kilograms. A winged person can at most carry 15 kilograms. They need at least 10 winged person to airdrop one armor demon. The demon race only has 70,000 winged person in total. This time, they can airdrop less than 10,000 armor demons. Don't tell me your 100,000 men can't stop 10,000 armor demons? Fire, quick! Xiangyu was immediately enlightened by Linmuyu's scolding. He hurriedly shouted in a low voice, what are you waiting for, fire? Yes, but... A Tang family captaincy said with a pale face, but Marquis, we still have close to 50,000 brothers at the front. Once the fire is ignited, I'm afraid they won't be able to return. Xiangyu hurriedly turned to look at Qin Yin with an extremely pained expression. Your Highness, what should we do? Linmuyu said coldly, the 50,000 men at the front have already been massacred. There are not many left. If we don't ignite the fire, they will all die for the country. But if we don't ignite the fire, the 200,000 armor demons of Qianfeng and Lei Chong will kill their way through the entire Canglin Valley. When that time comes, we will be waiting for the destruction of the country. Qin Yin gritted her teeth. Fire. Yes. In the sky, fire arrows were shot randomly. Not long after, the front was filled with flames. Armor demons that were charging forward fell into the fire pit, their cries soaring into the sky. Xiangyu raised his spear and said, "Your Highness, I will personally go to battle." Marquis Pingnan, be careful. Yes. Xiangyu brandished his spear and shouted, "Brothers, follow me to fight." At this moment, the Qinkuan battle formation had already been penetrated by Qianfeng's airdrop tactic. Therefore, the Qinkuan battle formation could only be stabilized by the forceful impact of cavalries. At the same time, the greater part of those giant ballistae had also been destroyed. A large group of armor demons were covered with saber and sword scars. However, they were not killed. The sun rose, slowly dispersing the fog, greatly improving one's field of vision. In front of them was a chaotic battle, and the victor would not be decided in a short while. At this moment, a row of cavalrymen galloped over and respectfully reported to Xing Yifan, "Marquis, something bad has happened. A large number of armor demons have appeared on the south side of Canglin Valley and are launching an attack on our right army." Zheng Yifan's entire body trembled, and his face became somewhat pale. He said, "Give the order to defend against the enemy. The Divine Might Battalion must block the demons for me no matter what." Yes. Not long after, another group of messengers galloped over. This time, they were reporting to Su Rong. "Commander, the demons have begun to attack our positions. What should we do?" "Defend against the enemy." Su Rong held his long saber and said, "Arrow boxes, ballistae, use everything that can be used. Even if the entire army is annihilated, we must block the demons' attack." "Yes. Commander Yu, why aren't you saying anything?" Zheng Yifan suddenly asked. Lin Muyu rode on the snow-treading warhorse and held the stellar sword in her hand. She smiled bitterly and said, "We're in a passive situation. What else can we say? Now, we can only hope that the front, left, and right armies can withstand the attack of the demon race." Su Rong looked at Lin Muyu with undisguised sarcasm in his eyes. He said, "Commander Yu's Longdan army camp is known as the Empire's strongest army. But in the end, where is the Longdan army camp now? Aren't our brothers fighting a bloody battle? Is that so?" Lin Muyu looked at him coldly. "Su Rong, remember this clearly. You are the Empire's commander. You are fighting for the Empire, not for me. Where were you when the Longdan army camp was fighting a bloody battle?" Zheng Yifan tried to smooth things over. "All right, commanders, the Empire is in danger now. We should work together to protect the great Qin Empire from being lost." Qin Yin nodded. "Yes, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui." Lin Muyu held the star's sword and said in a low voice, "Let's go. Bring the 1st Battalion's 2,000 soldiers and follow me. We are going to Su Rong's position to help defend against the enemy." "Yes." Lin Muyu saluted Qin Yin and said, "Shao Yin, I am going to help. Be careful." "Yes." Amidst the sound of hooves, Lin Muyu led the 2,000 elites of the Longdan army camp to leave the central army and went straight to the left army where Su Rong's position was. The position was located to the north of Canglin Valley. When Lin Muyu and the others arrived, it was already a chaotic battle. A large number of armor demons broke through the Muyu City Army's shield formation and were wantonly slaughtering the spear formation and bow formation. "It's over, it's over." A chilly arch of Muyu City looked at the destroyed position and the countless soldiers who died tragically on the ground. He couldn't help but kneel on the ground with tears streaming down his face. He cried, "The Empire is finished, the Empire is finished." A group of soldiers fought and retreated. Even more people had already begun to collapse. They picked up their weapons and ran away wantonly. The appearance of deserters meant that the entire position was about to be routed. Lin Muyu took the lead and rushed forward. She shouted, "Where is the military governor? Why aren't you punishing the deserters?" A fat officer's face was ashen. He was trembling in fear from the demon's attack. He said, "Commander Yu, we really have no choice. It's Lei Chong." Lei Chong, the god of death, personally led countless armor demons to attack our battle formation. We can't do anything. None of the people who died had a complete corpse. Execute the military law immediately. Anyone who deserts will be executed. Yes, Lin Muyu raised the stellar sword and said in a low voice, "Longdan army camp, follow me. Bring back the morale." Yes. A group of people swept past like a gust of wind. The forest ground was not suitable for cavalry. Lin Muyu and the others all dismounted and carried their weapons as they rushed forward on foot. As expected, the situation in front of them was very chaotic. The Muyu city army had already been divided into small groups and were being quickly devoured by the demons. At this rate, perhaps Su Rong's 100,000 men would be killed in less than a day. Go! Lin Muyu used the fallen star steps and rushed forward like lightning. She waved her sword and shot through a group of armor demons like a bolt of lightning. Everywhere she passed, the armor demons fell to the ground. Just like the humans who had been killed, none of their bodies were intact. Most of them were beheaded by Lin Muyu. The golden light of the god-binding chain surrounded the stellar sword, making it even more indestructible. It could even cut the thick shields held by the armor demons into two. The Holy King realm opened up, shocking the group of armor demons to the point that they couldn't move at all. Ruth. A group of armor demons also noticed the arrival of Lin Muyu, a fierce general. They immediately raised their weapons and greeted her. At least 50 armor demons attacked with amazing power. But Lin Muyu's power was even more fierce. With a sudden shout, the two martial souls broke out of her body and successively merged into a new martial soul, the seven luminary celestial sword. The golden sword with the power to break the sky was concentrated around the stellar sword. Suddenly, it swept out. The wind was strong and the rocks were cracked. With just one sword, more than 10 armor demons were all turned into corpses. Damn, Situ-sen was dumbfounded. The armor demons were nightmares for others, but for Lin Muyu, the armor demons were slaughtered as if they were vegetables. Situ-sen was amazed. His long sword was flowing with the mind-changing formula Xian energy. His sword fell down and killed the armor demons that Lin Muyu didn't have time to clean up. Wei Chao's attack method was even simpler. He pulled the bow and shot arrows, killing the armor demons almost one by one. He was the best archer in the Longdan army camp. With the sharpness of the white diamond arrow, every arrow was aimed at the throat. It was simply a nightmare for the armor demons. At the back, a group of soldiers in the Longdan army camp raised their shields and formed a cone-shaped formation, stabbing forward with Lin Muyu. In terms of combat power, almost none of them could fight with the armor demons face to face. But in terms of the strength of the formation, few armor demons could fight with the cone-shield spear-wielding cavalry of 2,000 heavy cavalries, even if they didn't have mounts. Perhaps they were encouraged by the Longdan army camp. The scattered soldiers of the Muyu city regrouped to fight against the demon clan. Many of them were even announcing, "The Longdan army camp is coming. Lin Muyu is coming. The valiant dragon army is fighting side by side with us." Courage needed to be encouraged. In this way, the news spread from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, and 1,000 to tens of thousands. Su Long army, which was about to collapse, gradually stabilized the situation. The arrow boxes on the hillside were also shooting arrows. The steel arrows kept penetrating the armor demons' bodies. In this kind of forced attack, although the armor demons were fierce, they still suffered heavy losses. At this moment, a heavy voice suddenly came from the crowd of armor demons, "Lin Muyu, go to hell." Boom! A blood-red light burst out from the crowd and formed the image of a warhammer. It suddenly fell among the cavalries with cone-shield spear-wielding in the Longdan army camp. Suddenly, more than a dozen soldiers were blasted into a pile of flesh and blood by the energy impact. Among the group of armor demons, a man in golden armor swooped down. Lei Chong. Lin Muyu would never forget Lei Chong's ferocious face. It was this demon general who had killed Du Hai, one of the white-robed imperial forest generals, outside Winter Frost City. He had also killed the commander of the Yangwei army, Marquis Wei Minyulan. Use the heavenly book. Situsen shouted in a low voice. Suddenly, more than a dozen people launched the dark force of the heavenly book. For a moment, thunder, fire, and frost swept the crowd of armor demons. However, the heavenly book seemed to be unable to do anything to Lei Chong. His body was surrounded by a layer of gang force formed by the master devil force, which completely ignored the power of the heavenly book. Roar! Lei Chong jumped high with the warhammer. Layers of the realm force kept binding Lin Muyu's body. This was the brilliance of Lei Chong. He knew how to use the realm force to confine the opponent and then launch a fatal blow. Among the armor demons, Lei Chong was the only one who could achieve such amazing martial arts attainments. However, how could the current Lin Muyu be that reckless kid from back then? Chapter 587. Lei Chong's hammer was very powerful, but Lin Muyu just wanted to see how far Lei Chong's cultivation had advanced. With a low roar, her twin martial souls quickly separated and merged into the seven luminary celestial sword. She held the star's sword with both hands and the power of the star's skill surged. The sword was covered with starlight. She directly threw the first appearance of starlight at Lei Chong. Bang! The star force and the guru demonic force surged and exploded, and a shock wave swept out. The surrounding armor demons and soldiers of the Empire all covered their faces. The impact of the fierce wind and the rubble was very destructive. Many armor demons in the distance even raised their shields and made a defensive posture. As if she had hit a cannonball, Lin Muyu was violently bounced back. Her arms were numb. My goodness, Lei Chong's cultivation must have improved again. Lei Chong's golden battle robe fluttered in the wind, and a trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. This blow was actually blocked by Lin Muyu. This little human gave Lei Chong another surprise. Roar! Lei Chong swept the entire demon tribe with his war hammer. Even Qianfeng was somewhat afraid of him, let alone this little human in front of him. With a roar, Lei Chong's guru demonic force surged. There was a faint dark vortex dancing on his arms. His boots stepped on the rubble and rushed toward Lin Muyu. What greeted her was a heavy hammer. This hammer was simple and clear, but it was extremely difficult to dodge. Lin Muyu could not help but secretly complain. She gently opened her left hand, and a star ribbon danced in her hand. At the same time, a series of gourd vines broke out of the ground and entangled Lei Chong's feet. However, it did not work at all. Lei Chong's strength was too strong. The dense dark vortex between his feet directly tore all the gourd vines into pieces. The hammer fell from the sky and hit directly at Lin Muyu's head. The astral shackles suddenly spread out and bound Lei Chong's feet. Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation and swung her astral sword, blocking Lei Chong's hammer with a dang sound. The intense shock made Lin Muyu feel numb all over his body. His body was knocked to the side of the mountain rock. Lin Muyu maintained her calm. The king's battle flame surged under her feet. She stepped on the mountain rock with her battle boots and leaped into the air. She landed on Lei Chong's shoulder like an agile monkey. Lei Chong's body was really too strong, like a giant. The moment Lin Muyu landed on his shoulder, she let out a low roar. The gourd vines extended from her left hand and entangled Lei Chong's neck. The star's sword in her right hand shone brightly. The blood-red stardust turned into rocks and suddenly chopped at Lei Chong's neck. 5 mountains descend from the sky. Bang! The blade chopped at the dark vortex, and the shock made both of her arms numb. Lei Chong's protective gang chi was not ordinary. However, Lin Muyu did not believe it. She gritted her teeth and formed an iron fist with her left hand. With a whistling sound, she punched at Lei Chang's head. Boom! Lei Chang's body suddenly stopped. It was as if he was frozen. However, half a second later, a wave of fist energy dissipated from his head. Lin Muyu's punch still did not work. Instead, at this time, Lin Muyu suddenly felt a pain in her legs. Lei Chong had already grabbed her feet and thrown her from above. Bang! The golden light of the diamond amulet shone in all directions. Lin Muyu and her sword heavily smashed a whole rock. Stone chips flew up into the sky. The whole ground seemed to be shaking because of the fight between the two experts. Lord! Wei Chou and Sidu Shui were anxious. Wei Chou raised his hand and shot an arrow. However, he did not have enough strength. The arrow only caused a ripple on the surface of Lei Chong's protective Gang Qi. Before Sidu Shui could save her, Lei Chong roared and rushed over. His boots crushed the rock, and his battle hammer dragged a horrifying trace on the ground and swept across the broken rocks. Bang! With a loud bang, Lin Muyu was swept away. The golden gourd wall around her was about to break. The energy of the diamond amulet was also on the verge of collapsing. She flew out like a cannonball and directly hit the shields of a group of armor demons. The force was so powerful that the group of armor demons, who were born with great strength, actually fell down. Ruth! The group of armor demons roared and waved their spears, sabers, and battle hammers, as if they were going to dismember Lin Muyu. However, at this moment, the little human in front of them suddenly rolled a few meters away. She stood up in the air, and her palms were enshrouded with icy air. Suddenly, Lin Muyu passed through the crowd of armor demons. Snowflakes fell behind her. The next moment, nearly 100 armor demons around her were frozen into ice sculptures. 1 second later, all the ice sculptures were broken into pieces. The destructive power of the jade snow ice was truly shocking. Roar! Seeing that his subordinates were killed so cruelly, Lei Chong was furious. He rushed over with his battle hammer. His whole body was wrapped in a strong dark vortex, and the battle hammer fell from the sky. Clang! Lin Muyu blocked it with the star's sword. However, Lei Chong's speed was too fast. The battle hammer changed direction and swept horizontally. When Lin Muyu blocked it again, Lei Chong's battle boot, which was wrapped in a strong master's devil power, kicked toward Lin Muyu's chest. There was a great difference in height between them. Lin Muyu stomped on the ground with her left foot and flew up. Her right foot was full of mysterious energy of 5 elements and 8 wastelands, and she kicked at Lei Chong's battle boot. Bang! Lei Chong's battle boots were instantly shattered by the power of the 7 planets, revealing a smelly foot that was covered in black hair and had strong muscles. Lei Chong cackled loudly as he took the opportunity to stomp down. He was actually not afraid of the profound energy of the 5 elements 8 desolation annihilation. Pung! Lin Muyu's chest armor was kicked. She felt as if a mountain was pressing down on her chest. She couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood as she hurriedly retreated. Lei Chong's strength was too strong. It wouldn't be easy for her to fight him one-on-one. Go to hell, Lin Muyu. Lei Chong laughed crazily. He swept his battle hammer 3 times in a row, forcing Lin Muyu to be unable to fight back. He saw an opportunity and spun his battle hammer. With a dang sound, the stellar sword was sent flying. He could not help but laugh proudly. He raised his battle hammer and smashed it down on Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu's entire body seemed to be controlled by Lei Chong's domain. She could not move at all. She quickly raised her arms to defend herself, and with a loud shout, she summoned the Golden Dragon Blood Battle Shield. Bang! When the battle hammer fell, Lin Muyu felt as if her arms were about to be shattered. The Dragon Blood Battle Shield was instantly shattered. Ha 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 ha, Lei Chong laughed crazily and swung his battle hammer. This hammer strike was bound to smash Lin Muyu into pieces. However, at this moment, a flame appeared on Lei Chong's side. The flame spread and lingered in Lin Muyu's palm. When Lei Chong turned around, he saw a rapidly spinning sword engulfed in flames flying towards him. Dragon Flame Spiral Break. Peng, the stellar sword was extremely sharp. Under the power of the Dragon Flame Spiral Break, Lei Chang's protective aura finally disintegrated. In the next moment, the golden armor on his abdomen was completely smashed by the stellar sword. However, before the stellar sword could penetrate further, Lei Chang swung his battle hammer and smashed the stellar sword away with a dang sound. But at this moment, Lin Muyu had already closed in like a ghost. Her right hand reached for her waist, and a shining dagger appeared in her hand. It was Little Magic Sound. She grabbed the chain on Lei Chang's waist with her left hand and stuck to it like a bat. The Magic Sound dagger was filled with the 7 luminary celestial swords Xian energy. She stabbed at Lei Chang's abdomen. Puchi. Finally, blood. Lin Muyu pulled horizontally. Lei Chang's abdomen was instantly cut by nearly 20 centimeters. Blood flowed out. Roar. In pain, Lei Chang threw away his battle hammer and opened his palm to grab Lin Muyu's shoulder armor. He grabbed Lin Muyu with one hand as if he was grabbing a small animal and slammed her to the ground. With a bang, Lin Muyu was dizzy and her consciousness began to fade. Before she could react, the armor on her back received another heavy blow. It was Lei Chang's foot attack. Lin Muyu could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. She struggled to convert the 7 luminary celestial swords Xian energy into the dragon blood battle shield on her back. At this moment, there was a sudden dragon roar. A Catasaurus, which had not been seen for a long time, seemed to have sensed a great threat to its master's life and directly flew out from the alternate dimension. It had been a long time since they last met, and the Crimson Crystal Dragon had undergone a huge change. No one knew what it had experienced in the alternate dimension, but its size had increased by nearly half. The dark golden scales on its body looked very hard. It raised its ferocious head and directly spat out a mouthful of dragon flame at Lei Chang. Whoosh! Lei Chang's eyebrows and hair were instantly burned off. The golden armor on his body was also melted. The surface of the gold plating turned into liquid gold and flowed to the ground. The steel below was instantly dyed red. Damn it! Lei Chang was only injured but not killed. With a roar, he opened his hand and grabbed the neck of a Catasaurus and swung the battle hammer in his right hand. Bang! Under the hammer, a Catasaurus howled in pain as its scales scattered. After all, Lei Chang was too strong. Lin Muyu's heart ached. She hurriedly shouted, "Armor form." The next moment, the Acatosaurus in Lei Chang's hand suddenly turned into a scarlet light and dissipated. Instead, it turned into scales that stuck to Lin Muyu's white imperial forest armor. Even so, it was useless. Lin Muyu was already injured and could only use less than 20% of her original strength. She was definitely no match for Lei Chang. Quick, save the commander! Situ-san roared and leaped up. His entire body was like a rock spreading its wings as he dove towards Lei Chang. The sword in his hand shone with dazzling astral power. It was initial starlight. Roar! Lei Chang did not care about a small fry like Situ's senator. He raised his battle hammer and blocked the attack. Dang! Situ-sen was sent flying. However, Lei Chang was not much better off. The price of seriously injuring Lin Muyu was that his combat power had been greatly reduced. At most, he could only use 40% of his strength. The most serious injury was the wound that Lin Muyu had made on his abdomen. It was still bleeding. Fortunately, he had the demonic power to protect him. Otherwise, his intestines would have flowed out. Rustle, like a butterfly, Situ Shui jumped up and down in a few leaps and landed beside Lin Muyu. Seeing Lin Muyu lying on the ground, she felt so sorry for him that her eyes turned red. Without saying a word, she pulled Lei Chang's arm and put it on hers. She activated her qi and quickly left this dangerous place. Fire! Wei Chou shouted. Chapter 588. Hundreds of Longdan army camp soldiers shot arrows at the same time, and all of them were white diamond arrows. In the blink of an eye, Lei Chong's chest and arms were full of white diamond arrows, but his protective gang qi had begun to condense, so the effect of this kind of shooting would be greatly reduced. Wei Chou could not help but roar, "Brothers of Mu City, what are you waiting for? Are your arrow boxes just for decoration?" Only then did the remnants of the Twilight Rain City's army turn around. Several centurions personally set up the arrow boxes and pulled the bowstrings of the boxes. Immediately, thick and long steel arrows flew out and vibrated on Lei Chong's skin. Although they could not penetrate his skin, at least they could greatly reduce Lei Chong's strength. A group of armored demons moved forward and blocked the arrows for Lei Chong with their shields as they shouted in the language of demons. Lei Chong's face was filled with anger. He looked at Lin Muyu from afar and roared, "Lin Muyu, just you wait. I, Lei Chong, will definitely kill you. You bastard, just you wait." Leaning on his battle hammer, the arrogant Lei Chong slowly retreated under the escort of a group of armored demons. At the same time, another group of armored demons raised their weapons and launched the next round of attack. "What are you waiting for?" A captaincy of Mu City raised his arm and shouted, "Commander Yu is already injured. Throw the black beech oil barrels and fire arrows to stop the attack of the armored demons." "Yes." Behind them, the catapults immediately threw out barrels of black beech oil, which splashed in the crowd of armored demons. The armored demons looked at each other in surprise and only felt the smell of oil in their noses. However, the armored demons who had never fought against humans before did not know what it was. They looked up together and found a dense sea of fire arrows in the sky. They couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Then, they praised in a poetic way, "That graffiti pot of deer just now." Translation: "My mother, I am me, a different kind of firework, boom." The raging flames soared into the sky, covering the area of 1 mile in the valley. As a result, those armored demons were badly burned. In the blink of an eye, this round of attack of the armored demons had been retreated. After all, even Lei Chong had been beaten back. Those armored demons had lost their leader and had become a masterless army. Looking at the armored demons retreating in the distance, a group of soldiers of Mu City suddenly raised their weapons and cheered as if they had survived a disaster. At this time, a captaincy of Mu City came over with a long saber stained with the blood of the armored demons. He saluted to Lin Muyu and said, "General Su Zhang, thank you for your reinforcement. Otherwise, I'm afraid no one in this position could defeat Lei Chong." The surface of Lin Muyu's body was glowing with a faint golden light. Her two martial souls were absorbing the aura between heaven and earth as fast as possible to replenish her loss. At the same time, they were healing the internal injuries suffered by Lin Muyu. He nodded and said, "General Su, thank you for guarding here. The mission of the Longdan army camp is not here, so we can only provide a little reinforcement. Lei Chong has been injured, but he will definitely come back. I hope General can strengthen the defense and do a good job. Don't be caught off guard like this time." "I understand." When it was nearly noon, the entire Canglin Valley was boiling. The air was filled with a thick smell of blood. The front army and the left and right army had suffered from the frontal attack of the armored demons and suffered heavy losses. When Lin Muyu returned to the front army, she found that at least half of the 150,000 soldiers of Jianghu had been killed. There were numerous wounded soldiers. Less than an hour after the battle started, hundreds of casualty barracks had been full. The people of the Department of Spiritual Medicine were very busy. Are you injured?" Su Muyun came over and asked. Lin Muyu was really embarrassed at this time. Her white robe was badly damaged. Her shoulder armor was almost crushed by Lei Chong. Her white robe was covered with mud and the juice of grass. Behind her was an Acatosaurus whose neck was injured and bleeding. Qin Yin hurriedly got off the horse and checked his injury. Fortunately, his muscles and bones were not injured. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. "What on earth happened?" Qin Yin asked. She knew that ordinary enemies could not hurt Lin Muyu so badly. "We met Lei Chong. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. Lei Chong? Qin Yin was stunned. Su Muyun also frowned and said, Lei Chong appeared in the Su Long army? Yes, fortunately, Lei Chong was also injured. He should not lead the armor demons to attack the Su family's army for a while. That's good. Su Muyun let out a sigh of relief. Right at this moment, a group of cavalrymen covered in blood rushed out of the battle formation and went straight to the middle army. It was Xiang Yu and the others. Xiang Yu's face was splashed with the blood of the armor demons. After wiping it off, he turned over and knelt down in front of Qin Yin, saying, Your Highness, the attack of the armor demons is too fierce. If it goes on, my troops will be exhausted. We have more than 30,000 wounded soldiers. We need to rest and replenish our supplies. I request that the Iron Blade Army of the Middle Army should face the enemy head-on. The Iron Blade Army? Luo Xian's eyes turned cold. Xiang Yu looked at him indifferently and said, Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in one day. Are you saying that the Iron Blade Army of the Middle Army is just a decoration? Humph. Luo Xian said, Let's do it. The Iron Blade Army has been waiting for such a chance to make contributions. Qin Yin said softly, approved. Su Muyun remained silent. The battle situation was so fierce. What could the Iron Blade Army do? Xiang Yu's corps couldn't turn the situation around, neither could the Iron Blade Army. The demon race's fighting force was very fierce. Every time an armor demon was killed, they would lose 5 to 8 soldiers of the Empire. No corps would be willing to pay such a high price. Lin Muyu finally understood why Qin Yin arranged for the Longdan army camp to bring up the rear. This was destined to be a war of attrition. The later the Longdan army camp went to battle, the less damage they would suffer. There was no shortcut in a real war. It was a war of attrition. The current war was just using the Empire's national power to consume the demon race's national power. In the blink of an eye, the afternoon passed. Iron Blade Army fought armored demons with spear and shield formation, which was similar to the tactics of Lin Muyu's spear-shield cavalry camp. Luo Xian was brave enough to lead the Iron Blade Army to fight demons until the evening. After the bloody sunset, it would soon fall into the night. What a concern! If demons fought at night, what should humans do? After all, they didn't know about the night vision ability of armored demons. No matter what, humans' night vision ability was extremely poor. At this time, in the Canglin Valley, a large number of troops were being mobilized in the demon race's left army camp. The high-level demon race soldiers began to light lamps, bringing a ray of light to the demon race's simple tent. Lei Chong was sitting on the seat of one of the 2 marshals in the central tent with a warhammer in his hand. A high-level demon was dressing the wound on his abdomen with an indignant look on his face. With the sound of footsteps, Qian Feng came in with a group of demon generals. He looked at Lei Chong with concern. Marshal, I heard that you were wounded in the left demon army camp. What happened? Who could hurt you like this? You almost got your guts cut open. Lei Chong's expression was extremely ugly. In his eyes, Qian Feng's words were simply ridiculing him. He slammed his fist on the table and said sternly, Lin Muyu, I must kill this person. Him again? Qian Feng frowned. Lin Muyu has sabotaged our celestial race's plans time and time again. If we don't get rid of this person, it will be difficult for us to conquer the Central Plains. General Lei Chong, please rest well and choose another day to fight. Lei Chong said, No, I don't need to rest. I heard that. His Majesty is here? Yes, in the central tent. I'm going to see His Majesty. His Majesty said that since you're wounded, you don't need to see him. No, I'm going now. Lei Chong put on his armor and his blood-stained golden cloak. He went straight to the central tent. Qian Feng shook his head helplessly and followed. Inside the tent, the Demon King was still dressed in a black robe. He sat on his seat while the sage hid behind the curtains. Qian Feng and Lei Chong cupped their fists and said, Greetings, Your Majesty. You may rise. The Demon King whispered, I heard that Marshal Lei Chong is wounded. It's just a small injury. It won't affect my service to the celestial race. Lei Chong said in a low voice. Huh, that's good. The Demon King said, it's getting late. Let's call a truce tonight. Tomorrow morning, we will launch a fierce attack. We must take down the human camp west of Sung Lin Valley. Yes. Have an early rest, marshals. Rest well and go. Yes, I'll take my leave first. After the two marshals left, the sacred master floated out from the curtains. His body was like a dark shadow that had condensed together. He smiled and said, Your Majesty. Even the ferocious beast Lei Chong was injured. This Lin Muyu is indeed not simple. Why don't I go and meet him? The Demon King shook his head, Sage, don't act rashly. There are many experts in the Empire. I wonder if that old thing Qin Han is here. If he is, if Qin Han and Lin Muyu work together, the sage doesn't have the confidence to win. Don't worry, the celestial race has the entire Shattered Cauldron realm in mind. Lin Muyu is just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Oh right, have the 300,000 elite soldiers from the Iha kingdom come out of seclusion? No. Qin Yi is a sly old fox. If there wasn't a fat piece of meat in front of him, why would he come out? Humph. At that moment, an invisible aura suddenly descended from the sky. The Demon King and the sage were shocked at the same time. Their bodies trembled and they started to activate their domains to resist the attacker. The attacker must be a god to be able to attack the Demon King and the sage at the same time. Moreover, it might not be as simple as a hierarch. The other party's aura grew stronger and stronger. Soon, all the lights in the central tent were extinguished. The few high-level Protoss soldiers guarding the central tent were dumbfounded. They died with blood flowing out of their mouths and noses. Ha! The Demon King suddenly stood up. Divine power circulated around him as a rainbow light shot into the sky. He shouted, Who is it? Come out and meet me if you have the guts. The big tent was penetrated by the power, but there was no one there. It was just a silent starry sky. She left. The sage smiled faintly. Looks like the Iha kingdom is ready to make a move. They actually let her test us first. Heh, the Demon King laughed and said, a mere useless god dares to show off in front of an expert. Don't these clowns from the Iha kingdom know that their death is near? In the night sky, a red figure flew across the sky. The moonlight shone on her elegant face. It was Divine Monarch Fire Dance, O Yang Yen. Her face was slightly pale. She had used her divine realm domain to intimidate the Demon King and the sage. Not only did she not hurt them, but she also suffered the consequences of her own actions. The people of the celestial race were indeed unfathomable. Chapter 589. A woo, the low roar of a Catasaurus could be heard from within the tent. It placed its huge head on Lin Muyu's shoulder and gently rubbed it. Its big eyes stared at the horse meat in Lin Muyu's hand, blinking, full of expectation and desire. Every time Lin Muyu lifted the meat, it became even more expectant. The scales on its head stood up like a mimosa, and its ears drooped down, full of obedience. However, when Lin Muyu placed the meat in its mouth, the scales on the Acatosaurus's face was filled with disappointment. Wei Cho said, in just one afternoon, the Steel Blade Army lost more than 30,000 men, and many horses were also injured. Therefore, everyone's dinner has been changed to horse meat. My lord, eat as much as you want. If that Acatosaurus wants to eat, you can also feed it some. There's plenty of horse meat. Oh. Lin Muyu nodded and said to the Acatosaurus, Come, open your mouth. The Acatosaurus bowed and blinked its eyes. It quickly raised its neck and opened its mouth. Lin Muyu lifted the entire silver cauldron and poured at least 3 caddies of horse meat into the Acatosaurus's mouth. The Acatosaurus swallowed it all without blinking. It then looked at its master with its big watery eyes and licked its lips. Its eyes were filled with hope as always. Lin Muyu was speechless. She rubbed the Acatosaurus's head and said, "Don't be too greedy. Even if there's plenty of horse meat, we still need to prepare for a long battle. Save as much as you can. Xiaolong, go back to the alternate space and find your own food." The Acatosaurus's mood was gloomy. This was the only thing Lin Muyu could feel. Ever since the Acatosaurus entered the alternate space, the soul contract between Lin Muyu and Acatosaurus seemed to have weakened. The only thing she could feel was the Acatosaurus's emotions. As for what Acatosaurus wanted to express, Lin Muyu had no idea. On the side, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Situ Shui, and Feng Shi were also eating in silence. After a while, Situ Sen raised his head and said, "My lord, do you think we have a chance of winning?" "Yes, although it's not a big chance." Lin Muyu comforted the troops. In fact, he knew that if this situation continued, the chance of winning would be less than 20%. Situ Shui said, "Today, Xiang Yu's army, Steel Blade Army, Su Long's army, and the God Wei camp have a total of 90,000 soldiers killed and 110,000 wounded. On the other hand, the demons only lost less than 30,000 armor demons. At this rate, all 500,000 of us will die here, and the demons will still have 200,000 armor demons. Moreover, the high-level demon army hasn't even been mobilized yet." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I know that, but I don't know what Xiao Yin is thinking. I asked her at dusk, but she didn't tell me. I feel that Xiao Yin has her own plan, but she didn't tell me." Wei Chou was stunned. "With the relationship between you and Her Highness, she didn't tell you?" "Yes." Lin Muyu sighed, "It doesn't matter. Since the Longdan army camp is responsible for bringing up the rear, let's be at ease and leave the rest to others." "Yes." "Oh yes, is there any news from Feng Jixing and Su Yu?" "Not yet. From Mo Song Pass to Canglin Valley is 1,000 miles away. It will take a day and a night to send a letter. Even if they received the letter, it was a day ago. It's useless. I hope Brother Feng is safe." "Commander, don't worry. General Feng is well versed in military strategy. Even if Long Qianlin and Ding Shi make any strange moves, General Feng can deal with it. Moreover, Her Highness Tang Lan and Commander Su Yu are here. It's even more foolproof." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. She knew very well what kind of people Long Qianlin and Ding Shi were. These two people were too shrewd. Feng Jixing might be able to mediate if it was a one-on-one battle, but it would be a little difficult if it was 1 against 2. The moonlight of Canglin Valley shone brightly on Mo Song Pass. Feng Jixing stood on top of the fortress in a white robe, looking at the soldiers cleaning up the battlefield under the moonlight. His face was full of solemnity. In the battle during the day, both sides suffered losses. Long Qianlin and Ding Shi had gathered nearly 400,000 men in Lingnan, but there were only 80,000 soldiers attacking the 3 passes. There were only 2 possibilities. The first possibility was that Long Qianlin thought that 80,000 was enough to break through the pass. The other possibility was that they had other plans. An imperial army captaincy walked up the cold stone steps and cupped his fists. "Commander, a total of 3,000 corpses of Iha country's soldiers have been cleaned up outside the city." "Yes, I know. How many casualties did we suffer?" "Less than 700 people." At the side, Tang Shi couldn't help but laugh. General Feng is indeed a famous general of the present age. Under the attack of Long Qianlin and Ding Shi, he was able to kill and injure 3,000 of their soldiers, but his own casualties were less than 1,000. Mo Song Pass is sturdy, and defending a city has always been like this. There was no joy on Feng Jixing's face as he said, "Men, send a letter to Zhang Wei and Xiahou Sang, and order them to erect my commander flag with the word Feng on the city walls, so that Long Qianlin and Ding Shi would not be able to tell which city I am in." "Yes, this subordinate will do it right away." Su Yu combed her fluttering hair. She was still so graceful in the imperial female military uniform. Looking at Feng Jixing, who was in a daze, she couldn't help but laugh. General Feng, what are you thinking about? Feng Jixing looked at the thin layer of snow on the mountain range and said, I am thinking, how long will it take for the snow to melt? Spring comes very quickly in Lingnan, and the temperature is warmer than in Lingbei. So, as long as it doesn't snow, the snow will definitely melt in 3 days. Maybe, 1 day is enough, as long as the sun tomorrow is as good as today. Suyu squinted her beautiful eyes and asked with a smile, why, does the snow have anything to do with our battle? Commander Suyu, you haven't experienced the Lanyan City rebellion, so you don't know the origin of that war. But, as a general of the empire, Commander Suyu should remember how the Iha rebels crossed the Qinling Mountains and conquered Sangnan Province, Earthstar Province, and Lingdong Province in one fell swoop, right? Green cowhide crossing the mountains? Suyu's body trembled. Do you mean Long Qianlin and Ding Shi will also use the green cowhide crossing the mountains? Why wouldn't they? Feng Jixing's eyes were indifferent. Lin Yu, who came up with the green cowhide crossing the mountains, is Long Qianlin's cousin, so it's not surprising that Long Qianlin will use the same trick again. Spring is warm, flowers are blooming, and all living things are coming back to life. Green has already begun to appear on the Qinling Mountains in the Swift White Province. I have asked around, there are at least 20 places in the Qinling Mountains that can be crossed. Although the 3 passes are dangerous, if Long Qianlin and Ding Shi order hundreds of thousands of Iha soldiers to cross the mountains at night, they will surround the 3 passes and cut off our food supply and water supply. Suyu's expression was anxious, and she sucked in a breath of cold air. So scary, what should we do now? Feng Jixing smiled. Commander Suyu, don't panic. Both Duke Lan and I have already thought of this, so we have sent out tens of thousands of soldiers a day ago. We have sent 2,000 soldiers to every pass that can be crossed, set up traps, set up arrow boxes, and so on. As long as Long Qianlin and Ding Shi want to cross the mountains, no matter how many come, they will all die. Suyu showed a trace of relief. Fortunately, General Feng is here. Sigh. Feng Jixing sighed and wrung his hands, not saying anything. Why is General Feng sighing? I'm sighing because I can only guard here. If it were you guarding the 3 passes, I'm afraid he would have already sent his troops to Lingnan and taken the initiative to attack. Suyu couldn't help but laugh. This is also a good thing for the Empire. Commander Yu is good at attacking, and General Feng is good at defending. Both of them are indispensable. I think this is also the reason why Her Highness Yin sent Commander Yu to guard the 3 passes. Feng Jixing smiled awkwardly and continued to be silent. Late at night, on the rugged and winding mountain road of Qinling Mountains, a group of Iha soldiers dressed in black with swords and sabers in their hands walked cautiously. On one side of them was a bottomless abyss, and if they were slightly careless, they would fall and be smashed to pieces. However, the look in their eyes was resolute. Everyone knew that Ding Shi and Long Qianlin had ordered that the first person to cross the Qinling Mountains would be promoted to a chiliarch, with a reward of 1 million gold. However, it seemed that they didn't have the fortune to enjoy this reward of 1 million gold. Just after the first Iha soldier appeared, there was a sudden whoosh in the distance, and a sharp arrow directly pierced his throat. Immediately, his dead body rolled down the mountain cliff. The Iha soldiers behind were in a commotion. A centurion immediately pulled out his sword and shouted, "There's an ambush. Charge! Rush out of the ambush. They won't have too many troops. Kill!" Hundreds and thousands of Iha soldiers madly rushed to the top of the mountain, but what greeted them was a row of pitch-black arrow boxes. With the sound of bowstrings being pulled, densely packed arrows flew out, and in the blink of an eye, hundreds of Iha soldiers in front of them were turned into corpses. Oh no! They came prepared. Achillearcha's face was full of shock, and he said, "Retreat, retreat, we can't attack anymore. Send a letter to the marshal." Pa, a messenger bird flew down the mountain at high speed. In the Iha army's main camp, Ding Shi opened the letter, and after glancing through it, his face was a little pale, and he said, "What a good Feng Jixing. He actually predicted that we would cross the mountains to attack and actually set up an ambush." Long Qianlin held the hilt of his sword, and said, immediately send the order to all the divisions to stop moving and withdraw from the Qinling Mountains. Yes. However, a captaincy said with hope, General Long, what if the Empire only set up an ambush? The rest should be able to make a great contribution. General Long, please reconsider. Long Qianlin smiled slightly, you don't understand Feng Jixing at all. His meticulousness is far beyond your imagination. Immediately send the order to withdraw all the troops that are carrying out the mission. Don't let them die in vain on the Qinling Mountains. Moreover, so what if 1 or 2 troops go over? The Empire has already heard of the movement, and the nearly 200,000 troops are not just for show. Yes, General Long. Long Qianlin sat down and looked at Ding Shi. Both of their faces were full of solemnity. How difficult would it be to seize the pass from Feng Jixing's hands? Chapter 590. February 7th. The battle outside Songlin Valley had been in a stalemate for 4 consecutive days. Finally, under the fierce attack of the demon race, the Empire could not hold on any longer. The 4 armies at the front had suffered heavy losses. Tens of thousands of wounded soldiers poured into the casualty barracks every day, but the elixir department could only send out a limited number of military doctors. Many soldiers had already died from their injuries. Late at night, Chu Yao was dressed in the long white dress of the elixir department's chief deacon. Her face was covered in sweat as she bandaged the broken leg of a wounded soldier. She had already lost count of the number of wounded soldiers she had treated today. A chief deacon of the elixir department, who was about 40 years old, said respectfully, Chief Deacon Chu Yao, Commander Yu of the Dragon's Courage Legion has sent people to escort you out of the casualty barracks. Ah, why? Chu Yao was surprised. The chief said, the front line will most likely be lost. Once the demon race breaks through the Iron Blade Army's camp, they will march straight into the plains outside Songlin Valley. By then, we won't be able to leave even if we wanted to. But Chu Yao bit her red lips and looked at the countless wounded soldiers lying on the ground in the casualty barracks. She could not help but ask, what about these wounded soldiers? A man lifted the white curtain and walked in. It was Lin Muyu's personal bodyguard, Bai Yin. He cupped his fists and said, Chief Deacon Chu Yao, these wounded soldiers will be evacuated soon. You are the chief deacon of the elixir department and the commander's sister, so please bring everyone from the elixir department and follow me. There will be more wounded soldiers waiting for your treatment. Please do not make things difficult for me. Let's go. Chu Yao did not insist. She took off her blood-stained gloves and said, yes, immediately gather everyone from the elixir department and retreat with the Longdan army camp. Yes. Not long after, under the starry sky, a group of white-robed members of the spiritual medicine department boarded the carriages, while Baiyin commanded several hundred cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp to stand guard at the side. He shouted, depart. When the fleet left the casualty camp at a high speed, the moonlight fell all the way to the edge of the canyon. Over there, the battle roars were reverberating over 5 miles outside the canyon. The armored demons were attacking the human positions crazily. Even though many armored demons had lost their arms and legs, they were still fighting like wild beasts with resentful looks. Most of the Imperial soldiers were scared out of their wits by the armored demons' offensive. Many of them could not resist at all and were brutally killed. Their blood flowed all over the ground. Soon, the armored demon legion flooded over like a tide. What was worse was that the Wing Clan Legion's shrill screams constantly came from the sky. Taking advantage of the darkness, these Wing Clan Legion shot down countless arrows. The Imperial soldiers could only be beaten without being able to fight back. On the front line, Luo Xian carried her long spear and thrust it back and forth amidst the group of armored demons. Her purple dragon martial spirit's radiance soared to the sky, looking incomparably mighty. However, the people around her decreased as she fought, and in the blink of an eye, there were only a few left. Young General Luo Xian. On a hill, many soldiers waved the imperial war flag. Under the flag, the Marquis of Pingnan, Xianghu, sat on a tall horse and shouted, young General Luo Xian, retreat. We can't fight anymore. Otherwise, tens of thousands of us will die here. What? Luo Xian's eyes widened. No. Once we retreat, the God Might Battalion and Su Long's troops on the left and right sides will be ambushed and killed. The demons will break through the middle of the army and form an encirclement. They will be blocked on both sides of the valley and killed one by one. They will not be able to escape. Xiangyu immediately held up a token and said, Young General Luo Xian, this is the token given to me by Her Highness, the Empress. Please follow my orders and retreat with the Steel Blade Legion. You. Luo Xian looked behind him. There were at least 20,000 soldiers in the Steel Blade army. Although they were fighting fiercely, if they could hold on for 2 to 4 hours and let the Shinwei Battalion and Su Long Battalion retreat first, they might still be able to save Su Long Battalion and the Shinwei Battalion. However, Xiangyu had given the order and Luo Xian could do nothing about it. Under Su Muyun's constant guidance, Luo Xian naturally knew what a soldier should do. With a face full of unwillingness, Luo Xian raised his spear and shouted, Steel Blade Legion, retreat with Xiangyu's army. The 3rd Battalion, stay behind and cover the retreat. The 1st Battalion, follow me and cover the retreat of the God Might Battalion on the right. The 2nd Battalion, follow Deputy Commander Su Wan and cover the retreat of Su Long's troops on the left. Go now, don't hesitate. Yes. All of a sudden, the main force of the Steel Blade Army retreated. The 3 battalions of about 6,000 soldiers split into 3 groups, with one group bringing up the rear and 2 groups providing cover for the other 2 battlefields. However, the winged army in the air was extremely sharp. Arrows rained down from the sky, killing the cavalry on the ground. Luo Xian looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Bastards! Xiangyu clenched his fists and shouted, Luo Xian, this bastard, how dare he act so arbitrarily? Men, retreat and leave the battlefield to the demons. Send a message to the Central Army and tell Her Highness that the front line has been routed. We can't hold them off anymore. Yes. What? Routed? In the central tent, Qin Yin slammed the table and stood up. She looked at the messenger in shock. Su Muyun and Xing Yifan stood up at the same time and said, Oh no. Xing Yifan looked at the messenger and asked sternly, Xiangyu gave the order to retreat? Yes, Shenhe. This bastard. Xing Yifan's eyes flashed fiercely. The Central Army retreated without warning. This means that the flanks will be surrounded and annihilated by the demons. Xiangyu has been leading the army for a long time. How could he make such a mistake? He's putting the Shinwei Battalion in a position of no return. Men, bring my guards to reinforce the Shinwei Battalion. Bring back as many as you can. Su Muyun quickly grabbed Xing Yifan's wrist and said, Shenhe. Xing Yifan looked back at him and said, Gong Yun. The Shinwei Battalion is my life's blood. How can I let them die in vain in this Canglin Valley? Su Muyun's cloudy eyes were filled with helplessness. Shenhe, the number of old officials in the empire is decreasing day by day. Du Hai, Lei Hong, and the others have already left us. If Shenhe leaves, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to return. Shenhe, please take care of yourself. In the future, you still need to assist Her Highness to unify the empire. Let me go. Xing Yifan was stunned. At this time, the messenger reported respectfully, Your Highness, Marquis, young General Luo Xian has already led the Steel Blade Army's main force to cover the retreat of the Shinwei Battalion and Su Long's army. Xian heir. Su Muyun's arm was slightly trembling. He said, Men, lead my personal guards and advance 5 miles to support the young general. Yes. At this time, Lin Muyu stood up and looked at the messenger with a pair of clear eyes. She said, Stop. Commander Yu, what's the matter? The messenger's heart was pounding. Lin Muyu asked, Tell me honestly, is the front line really at a point where they can't hold on any longer? The messenger was perturbed and said, Reporting to Commander Yu, the demon race's attack today is very fierce. At least 200,000 armored demons have attacked our frontline. Our brothers at the frontline have almost used up all their arrows and the heavenly tomes have been used up. Therefore, Commander Xiangyu has ordered the entire army to retreat. Answer me directly. Can they hold on any longer? Yes, but they definitely won't last until tomorrow. Damn it. Lin Muyu said in a low voice, what is Xiangyu doing? Is he giving the Shenwei battalion and Su Long's army to the demon race? One night is enough for the left and right armies to retreat. Why didn't the front line resist? The messenger trembled all over and didn't dare to answer. Zheng Yifan frowned and said, it's useless to say anything now. Let's think about what we should do next. Lin Muyu said, since Xiangyu has ordered the retreat, they will definitely collapse. With Qianfeng and Lei Chang's personalities, it's impossible that they won't chase after us. Their wish is to fight us on the plains. The Empire has already lost the first battle. Su Muyun raised his eyebrows and said, then what's next? Almost everyone's gaze fell on Lin Muyu. Everyone knew that the Steel Blade Army, Shenwei Battalion, Xiangyu Battalion, and Su Long's army had already fought against the demon race and lost. Their only hope was the well-preserved Longdan army camp. If the Longdan army camp couldn't turn the tide, then the Empire's 500,000 soldiers would really be eaten by the demon race in the Zhonglin Valley. Sirs, please command the troops to retreat in an orderly manner. Lin Muyu's voice was a little weak. She said, I will arrange for the main force of the Longdan army camp to set up a formation to intercept the demon race's pursuers. Don't worry. All right. Thank you, Commander Yu. Everyone nodded. Qin Yin didn't say a word. Her beautiful eyes were looking toward the southeast. That was the direction of the Sword Pavilion. The Empire's army had suffered a crushing defeat. If Sword Pavilion's Qin Yi still didn't send troops, then the entire continent's future would be out of control. On the north side of the Zhonglin Valley, facing more and more demons, Su Long's army was losing ground. They couldn't tell each other apart in the dark. They could only hear the endless roars of the demons. Su Long rode his beloved warhorse with a long saber in his hand. His face was ashen as he shouted, military report, where's the military report? A centurion shouted, Commander, Xiangyu ordered the entire army to retreat. What? Su Long's heart turned cold. He said, this order didn't reach me at all. Xiangyu, that bastard, is he trying to make us fall into eternal damnation? Men, immediately pass down my order. Everyone, follow me and charge back. Retreat. It's too late, Commander. Look over there. Su Long looked back. Under the moonlight, countless armored demons were charging out of the valley. They had already formed an encirclement. In an instant, Su Long's heart felt like it had fallen into a glacier. He murmured, it's over, Commander, what do we do now? Hurry up and give the order. A captaincy whose arm had been chopped off said with tears of blood. Su Long gritted his teeth, let's go. Retreat to the north with me. Grab the warhorses' necks and swim across the river. It's better than dying here. Yes. A group of infantrymen put down their shields and armors and rushed into the river with their short swords. They waved their arms and rushed to the other side of the river. They all knew that the armored demons could not swim. As long as they reached the other side of the river, they would be able to save their lives. However, a series of screams could be heard coming from the river. The river water turned blood red. The first 1,000 soldiers that entered the river were all killed. It was the demon army. God damn it, Su Long's body trembled in anger. He shouted, brothers, it's time to show our loyalty to the Empire. Kill. Kill. A group of Kiliarchs and captains led the remaining troops to regroup and charge at the tide-like armor devils. However, when they looked back, they found that Su Rong's sword had slashed across his neck, and he had lost all signs of life and fallen off his horse. In the early morning of the 8th of February, year 7736 of the Empire calendar, Su Long, the deputy military governor of Yunzhong province and the commander of the army, committed suicide in defeat. Chapter 591. After the sun rose, the pursuit did not stop. The demon race was everywhere, brandishing their weapons as they charged into the battlefield. The four major armies of the empire had already been smashed to pieces. Countless soldiers were scattered around the Canglin Valley, and eventually became the target of the demon race's slaughter. Within a day, the demon race had marched straight into the territory of 10 miles, killing the empire's army, causing them to lose their will to fight. Tuck, 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 at dusk, the demon race finally sent out their elite high-level demon race cavalry. Nearly 10,000 demon race cavalry galloped across the plains like the autumn winds sweeping away the fallen leaves, tearing the lone troops of the empire into pieces. Cries and screams filled the air. This was not like a war, but more like a massacre. Pooh! The sound of a sword piercing into a chest was very pleasing to the ear. A demon race general, who was wearing a high-ranking military badge on his chest, slowly pulled out the sharp sword from the chest of a young soldier of the empire. He smiled and said, "Is this extremely weak race really the rulers of the continent for tens of thousands of years?" The demon race soldier beside him smiled and said, "General, they are indeed, but the rulers of the continent for the next tens of thousands of years will be our god race. We are the real masters of the continent. Ha 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 ha. Continue to advance, let these humans taste the feeling of being slaughtered." Yes. However, this line of about 200 demon race cavalry did not notice the pairs of eyes behind the evergreen shrubs and the arrow boxes that were ready to shoot. Su Jiantao pulled the bowstring of the arrow box, his face full of caution, and said, "Don't be anxious, we will wait a little longer. Listen to my orders, we must kill more than half of them in one round of arrows, otherwise this group of demon race will not be easy to deal with." "Yes, General." A large group of soldiers nodded one after another. Su Jiantao continued, "The high-level demon race is proficient in horsemanship and swordsmanship, so in a moment, they will definitely attack our battle formation. Spearmen in front, archers in the back. All cavalry, get on your horses and finish the battle." "Yes." Su Jiantao's dark eyes stared at the demon cavalry in the distance. They were getting closer and closer, less than 100 meters away. He knew that this was the strongest range of the arrow box, so he immediately shouted, "Shoot!" Dozens of arrow boxes were launched at the same time, and the arrows flew out like a shuttle. Shwa shwa shwa, the invincible steel arrows could even break through the hard armor of the demons, let alone these soft and tender high-level demons. In the blink of an eye, dozens of high-level devils had been turned into porcupines together with their horses. However, many high-level devils with impressive cultivation had condensed their demonic fighting aura and demonic blood breath as their protective aura. The steel arrows bounced off one after another, unable to cut into their bodies. "Bastard!" The high-ranking demon general roared angrily as he pointed his sword forward and yelled, "Charge! Kill these despicable humans." It would take a lot of time to refill the arrow boxes after shooting all the arrows. Su Jiantao could not afford to waste this time, so he turned around and mounted his horse with his sword, and shouted, "Charge!" In the evergreen bushes, hundreds of soldiers in the Longdan army camp stood up one after another. The spearmen were in front, and the shield and archers were in the back. Pu, the spears kept stabbing into the bodies of the warhorses and high-level devils, but there were too many people with impressive cultivation among this group of high-level devils. The demonic blood breath swirled in the night sky, and the long swords danced in the air. Hundreds of soldiers in the Longdan army camp in front of them were killed in the blink of an eye. The combat power of the high-level devils was too terrifying. "Prepare the heavenly book." Su Jiantao was on the horse. He suddenly held his sword horizontally in front of his chest and said, "Flame." The four generals in front of him held their weapons horizontally. Suddenly, golden divine characters soared into the sky, activating the power of heaven and earth. Moreover, they were the heavenly book of the law of fire. For a moment, a fiery red rain of fire fell from the sky and landed in front of them, swallowing a group of high-level devils. Su Jiantao raised his sword and shouted in a low voice, "Defend where you are. Archers, get ready." The flames continued to rise. The flames of the heavenly book could only last for a few minutes, but it was enough. A group of soldiers in the Longdan army camp widened their eyes and looked at the sea of fire under the night sky. Could it be that there were still devils that had not been killed? At this moment, a curse suddenly came from the flames. A devil general who was bathed in fire rushed over. It was the general of the team of 200 people. The gang energy on his body had been completely burned by the heavenly book of the fire attribute. His skin began to burn black, and there was a faint smell of burning, but his life was still very strong. He roared and rushed out of the sea of fire. Swoosh, 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 arrows flew like shuttles. In the blink of an eye, the high-level devil from the 4-star devil sect was shot into a hedgehog. How could he do anything else? He whimpered and knelt on the ground, dead. Humph. Su Jiantao scoffed faintly and said, "Pack up the arrow boxes. Let's go and set up another ambush at the back." "Yes, sir." However, just when a group of soldiers was about to pack up the arrow boxes, a chill suddenly spread around them. In the next moment, sharp sword chi erupted from the bushes, and tens of soldiers' bodies were completely cut into pieces. Amidst the frost, a strong figure stepped on the ice and flew toward them. His face was full of anger. "Su Jiantao, let's see where you can go this time." It was Bai Bing. He was one of the most capable generals under Chen Feng's command. He was also the one who assassinated Tang Tian and severely injured Tang Lu, which gave Tang Lan many reasons to rebel. Be careful. Naturally, Su Jiantao knew how powerful Bai Bing was. He hurriedly took out another long sword from his dimensional bag and shouted, "Brothers, send the signal." Among the crowd of Longdan army camp, a soldier took out a bamboo tube that was ground with black beech powder. After he ignited it, purple smoke rose into the sky. The black beech powder ignited when it came into contact with fire. Although its explosive power was not strong enough to be used as gunpowder, it was more than enough to be used as a signal flare. Die. Bai Bing swung his long sword. Before the long sword landed, the sword ray had already landed on the ground. It was the power of Bai Bing's domain. Su Jiantao's body trembled, and the armor he wore trembled violently. A pale blue light lingered around him. It was the effect of the engravings on the armor, and it was resisting Bai Bing's domain. Pft, pft, pft. Su Jiantao was fine, but the bodies of more than 10 soldiers behind him were crushed by the sword chi and domain. Clang! The moment the two swords collided, Su Jiantao fell off his warhorse like a cannonball. Bai Bing's strength was far beyond his expectations. Protect the governor. A group of cavalrymen rushed forward, but Bai Bing only sneered and waved her long sword. Streaks of frosty sword aura slashed out, killing the crowd of Longdan army camp as if there was no one there. Just when Bai Bing split a soldier of the Courage Dragon Battalion into 2 halves, a strong pressure suddenly came from the sky and locked Bai Bing's breath in the blink of an eye. In the sky, a young general wearing a general's robe descended from the sky, holding a shining longsword and surrounded by fierce fighting flames. Whether it was the attire or the look in his eyes, it was enough to make him look like him, but his momentum was a notch higher. Buzz! Astral power flowed into the star's sword, and Lin Muyu launched a strike. The first appearance of the stars. Bai Bing did not dare to be careless when he felt the arrival of a strong enemy. He roared and raised his long sword. Streaks of frost condensed around the blade. Pung! The ice shattered, and Lin Muyu pressed on Bai Bing's blade. Without waiting for him to react, she added a second force to the star's sword. Chaos of the common people. The common people celestial phenomenon danced on the blade. Bai Bing did not expect Lin Muyu to recover so quickly. An ordinary Sacred Realm elite would need at least 2 to 3 seconds to recover after using more than 50% of their strength. Otherwise, the energy in their sea of energy would not be able to fill up quickly. However, Lin Muyu actually charged up another strike in less than a second. Roar! Bai Bing's ferocious nature made him unwilling to be humiliated. The layer of ice on the blade became thicker. Pung! The chaos of the common people burst out a shock wave on the two swords, forcing Su Jiantao and the others to retreat. At the same time, Bai Bing's feet sank deep into the soil and slid back 3 meters. Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He had long heard of Bai Bing. Now that he had met him, how could he let him live? Poof! In less than a second, the third energy wave on the star's sword spread out, 3 luminaries calamity. Wah! Lin Muyu's body was in the air, and the third force had already erupted. Bai Bing immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. When had he ever seen such a battle style? Dang! The treasured sword in Bai Bing's hand that looked like the star's sword was instantly broken. The sword's soul wailed as it was torn apart by Lin Muyu's 3 luminaries' calamity power. The star's sword also took the opportunity to slash on Bai Bing's shoulder. Fresh blood splattered. Bai Bing's protective chi was indeed very powerful, but his opponent was the stronger Lin Muyu. He couldn't even withstand a single blow. Bai Bing slid back dozens of meters. He really hoped that he could suddenly disappear from this place and escape, but his entire body was already firmly controlled by Lin Muyu's power. There was no chance of survival. Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with murderous light. With a roar, the fourth force erupted. Snowflakes floated around the long sword. Lin Muyu smiled at Bai Bing and said in a very calm voice, "You pretended to be me and used the law of ice to kill people to frame me. Now, I will use the real Bai Bing's cold ice to send you to hell." Don't! Bai Bing was so frightened that he actually cried. Tears rolled down from his eyes. But since he was already here, how could it be so easy to leave? Ka-cha! The sword blade that was filled with a cold aura broke out of Bai Bing's body. At the same time that Bai Bing's body was frozen into ice, Lin Muyu and the sword pierced through Bai Bing's body. When Bai Bing's body landed on the ground, there was a crisp sound and he turned into pieces of corpse fragments. Pa! Icy chi filled the surroundings. Lin Muyu floated to the ground and completed a series of attacks in the air. For the current Lin Muyu, there were no rules in a battle. The rules that could kill the opponent were the best rules. Originally, he was stronger than Bai Bing, but he was definitely not strong to this extent. He needed at least 20 moves to kill this 5-star demon ancestor level expert. However, the sudden attack and the pinnacle of power control allowed him to kill Bai Bing in just 4 moves and 10 seconds. Commander. Su Jiantao and the others all knelt down to pay their respects. Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, "Don't pay attention to so many things on the battlefield. Everyone get up and prepare for battle." Su Jiantao nodded and said, "Commander, as soon as Bai Bing died, Qianfeng and Lei Chong will definitely send the news. The main force of the Armor Demon Legion led by Lei Chong is less than 10 li away from here. They should arrive soon." Just right. Lin Muyu raised the corner of her mouth and said, "I'm waiting for him. By the way, is there any news about Qianfeng?" "No, no one saw where Qianfeng is." "Oh," Lin Muyu softly responded, but she was at a loss. "Qianfeng, what are you doing?" Chapter 592. What? Bai Bing was killed? Under the starry sky, the galloping armor demon army suddenly stopped. Lei Chong held his war hammer and said with fierce light in his eyes, "How could it be?" Bai Bing was one of the most powerful generals under the command of Marshal Qianfeng. He was one of the best fighters even among the high-level Protoss. How could he be killed? Who killed him? It's the commander of the Empire's Valiant Dragon Battalion, Lin Muyu. The winged messenger said carefully, "We only dared to observe the battle from the sky and did not dare to approach them. There were too many of them. I saw Master Bai Bing being killed with my own eyes. Damn it." Lei Chong smashed his war hammer on the ground heavily. Immediately, a big pit appeared in the ground in front of him. The power of fire slowly rose from the deep pit. Lei Chong gnashed his teeth and said, Lin Muyu, that D*Ned B** starred, has lost another general of our Protoss. How can we not take revenge? Someone, pass down my order to the 3 armies. I heard that Lin Muyu has already set up a battle formation 5 miles away and is waiting for us. A high-level demon general cupped his fists and said respectfully, Marshal, please calm down. I hope you can think about it carefully. Don't forget what Marshal Qianfeng told you before you left. Don't go beyond 10 miles away from the Canglin Valley. If we go any further, we will be 10 miles away. Marshal Qianfeng wants us to station our troops here. Station our troops here? Lei Chong sneered. Does Qianfeng know that Lin Muyu killed Bai Bing? Does he know that Lin Muyu has stationed troops to fight against him? He doesn't even know that a general can't obey the orders of the emperor. Don't talk so much nonsense. I have 110,000 armored demons under my command. Do you think I'm afraid of his valiant dragon army? Gather the men and horses immediately. We'll charge over in 2 hours. Yes. The rumbling war drums sounded. The armored demons scattered around the valley all pricked up their ears to listen to where the drums were coming from. Then, they rushed over like a pack of wolves. In the blink of an eye, a group of tide-like armored demons had already gathered under the moonlight. The armored demons did not have any formation or phalanx. They just charged and killed. However, this kind of charge was simply a disaster for humans. The 200,000 men that Su Muyun, Zhen Yifan, and Tang Lan had trained so meticulously were utterly defeated by the attack of 150,000 armored demons. This was a very good example. 5 miles away, on the road between the valleys, the Longdan army camp was waiting for the enemy in the distance. The bright moon fell on the ground and shone on everyone. A total of 45,000 people formed a battle formation, which was divided into 8 formations: Qian, Kun, Zhen, Sun, Kan, Li, Zhen and Dui. This was the 8 formation chart that Lin Muyu found from Lulu's cache data. It was said that it was copied from the inscription of Gudaji, a military strategist of the Tang dynasty. When Lin Muyu gave this 8 formation chart to Wei Chou was obsessed with it. That was how the unique 8 formation chart of the Longdan army camp was created. The 8 formations, including the Central Army, had a total of 9 formations. They were spread out on the vast plains, with 5,000 people in each formation, a total of 45,000 people. It was a majestic sight, while Wei Chou stood on the high platform of the Central Army. On the hillside in the distance, Qin Yin, Su Muyun, Lin Muyu, and Zhen Yifan were watching from afar. 8 formation chart. Zhen Yifan squinted his eyes and smiled. I have never seen such a formation in my entire life. Commander Yu, have you used this 8 formation chart in actual combat? No. Lin Muyu said frankly. Su Muyun smiled. Although I have not used it in actual combat, I feel that this formation is very mysterious from afar. Moreover, with General Wei Chou personally overseeing it, I think it will be a great achievement. I don't dare to say that. Lin Muyu pondered. I just hope that it can stop the demons for 1 day and 1 night. Why 1 day and 1 night? Zheng Yifan asked. Could it be that Commander Yu still has some tricks up her sleeves? No, I just said it casually. 1 day and 1 night. Qin Yin held the hilt of her sword and asked, Has Xiangyu returned? Luo Xian shook her head. No. Commander Xiangyu led nearly 50,000 elite troops of Qihai City and disappeared. Before he left, he said that he would definitely repay the country with his life. After that, we lost contact. That bastard. Su Muyun gritted his teeth. I have never seen such a disregard for military law. If Xiangyu did not order the entire army to retreat, we would not have ended up like this. Poor Su Long, not a single one of his 100,000 troops returned. How hateful and infuriating. Luo Xian comforted him. Imperial father, Please do not be too sad. Commander Su long sacrificed his life for the country. As for us, our Iron Blade army still has about 30,000 people. There are also many of our people in the wounded barracks. Our strength is still there. Qin Yin said, how is the arrangement of the wounded barracks? Xu Yao said respectfully, Your Highness, the wounded barracks have been moved 10 miles to the west. However, the retreat was too hasty. We still have nearly 40,000 wounded soldiers who did not have time to evacuate. Most of them have already fallen into the hands of the demons. Qin Yin's body trembled and her beautiful eyes became misty. The Empire has let them down. Lin Muyu looked at the front indifferently and did not speak. At this moment, a messenger bird landed on his arm. When he opened it, he saw the handwriting of Su Jiantao. The Thunder Rush army is here. They have about 100,000 troops and are 3 miles away. In fact, the billowing smoke and dust in the distance could almost be seen. The sound of killing could be heard in the wind. On the plains, with the help of the moonlight, they could see a black tide surging towards the 8 formation diagram of the Longdan army camp. At least 100,000 armored demons had finally arrived. Everyone almost suffocated. No one had seen the formation of the demons from this angle. This was the first time. Will we be the ones to make history? Qin Yin suddenly muttered to herself. Lin Muyu secretly held her cold little hand and smiled. Yes, we will. Don't worry. Qin Yin also smiled. At this moment, the only thing that could make Qin Yin feel relieved was Lin Muyu's confident smile. Although Lin Muyu did not have much confidence, because he did not think that the 8 formation diagram could really resist the armored demon army. Looking at the group of guards behind her, Lin Muyu said, Send the winged cavalry to investigate. I need to know where Qianfeng is. Yes. The group of guards retreated. Su Muyun smiled and said, Commander Yu is so concerned about Qianfeng's movements. If Qianfeng is here, we will definitely lose. If Qianfeng is not here, we will definitely win. Lin Muyu's voice was very calm, but surprisingly full of confidence. With Qianfeng's strategy and vision, he would definitely be able to see through Lin Muyu's real intentions. If Qianfeng was not here, and only Lei Chong was here, this reckless commander of the armored demons would not be able to see through too much. Lin Muyu was full of confidence in this. They are coming. They are attacking. Luo Xian said eagerly. Her voice revealed some excitement. Yes, they are attacking. Zheng Yifan's voice was more desperate. The cold wind whistled past the general platform. Wei Chou was standing on the general platform in a white robe. The 2-star military insignia on his shoulder was glowing with a faint golden light. Looking at the armored demon army coming from afar, he gently raised his hand and said, Drummers, flag bearers, order the tiger wing formation to fight. The drums were beating in unison. The flag bearers waved the war flags rapidly. The formation changed rapidly. Their wings were like sharp claws. Their defense was accompanied by an awe-inspiring attack. Ruther. The armored demon army roared and rushed at the heavy shields outside the formation. However, there were layers of people behind the heavy shields. The soldiers of the Longdan army camp were resisting with their bodies. 10 or even 20 people could naturally resist the impact of the armored demons. Sparks splashed on the heavy shields. The armored demons in the first row could not rush in at all. On the contrary, the archers behind the shields were shooting randomly. White drill arrows fell on the armored demons like rain. In the blink of an eye, a lot of armored demons were killed or injured. Charge! In the crowd, Lei Chong appeared. He rushed into the crowd with his war hammer and tore the bodies of dozens of soldiers of the Longdan army camp into pieces. However, dozens of people were nothing compared to the battle formation of 5,000 people. The formation quickly rotated to fill the gap. However, arrows and spears kept coming. Although Lei Chong could kill people, he could not break the formation. The armored demons kept rushing at the periphery and quickly penetrated into the formation. It was like water flowing around a stone pillar in a stream. Wei Chou saw it clearly. He raised his arm again and shouted, "Snake coil formation." Dong, 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 the sound of the war drums became rapid. The battle formation changed rapidly. They were connected in pairs like snakes coiling in the wild. In the blink of an eye, the armor demons that entered the formation were devoured. The shields on the periphery quickly changed into a defensive echelon, preventing the armor demons from rushing in. The front formation was full of shield-bearers and spearmen. The 8 formation diagram that Wei Chou trained could be said to have used the Jianghu tactics to fight against the demons. Damn it! Lei Chong bellowed from outside the formation, "Charge! Leap and attack! The winged army, move out and attack the sky above their formation. We must destroy the valiant dragon camp." Countless winged people soared into the sky and started shooting arrows down from the sky. Wei Chou could not help but take a deep breath. After blocking a few arrows with his sword, he raised his arm and shouted, "Bird flight formation, use the heavenly book." Now! The sound of the war drums became more intense, and the battle formation continued to change. At the center of each formation, soldiers holding shields piled up like a human pyramid. When the soldiers at the top were nearly 10 meters tall, they stepped on their shields and leaped into the formation. The weapons in their hands glowed with a faint golden light. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 soldiers leaped into the sky. Heaven and earth energy surged, and more than 100 spiritual books, earthly books, and heavenly books exploded in the sky. For a moment, flames, storms, icicles, and rocks exploded in the sky. It was as if a purgatory had been created in the human world. Boom, 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 the heavenly book was extraordinary. In order to maintain their shooting power, the winged men in the sky were less than 50 meters away from the ground. They were all within the range of the heavenly book. For a moment, screams could be heard. In the blink of an eye, almost 30,000 winged ones had been killed. Charred and frozen corpses of winged ones rained down from the sky. Shield bash. Wei Chou continued to give orders calmly. The soldiers raised their shields above their heads, and the clanging sounds of the winged men falling could be heard. "Oh my God!" On the hill, Zhen Yifan took a deep breath and said, "Wei Chou is truly a brave general of the present age." Lin Muyu was silent. Her expression was solemn, but she could not help but feel a little proud. Wei Chou was her favorite general, and he had gradually grown into a leading general. This kid did not let her down. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.